Hello, my dear friend of sleepy history. Before your eyelids get heavy and your thoughts drift like seaweed in the tide, I have a tiny question for you. Have you ever wondered what you were? In your past life? No, not a pharaoh, not a pirate. Think wetter, slimier, with fins. Tonight, we're not just telling history, we're slipping into it. You'll become a fish with dreams, a swampy explorer, a clumsy hero with a jaw that barely knew what to do with itself. And if this journey makes you smile, chuckle, or whisper, "Wait, I was a fish?" So pull the blanket up, wiggle your toes like proto-fins, and let's find out, what were you in the Devonian? And as always, don't forget to leave a comment and tell me, what time is it where you are now? Because somewhere in someone else's time zone, another sleepy fish is just waking up. Let's dive in. Evolution is calling. Part 1, the age of fish. 1, armored fish and jawfish. You're living in the Devonian, where the ocean isn't just blue, it's downright violent. But hey, don't worry. You're not some squishy little snack floating around waiting to be slurped up. You are a tank. Proper armored fish. Placoderm. Thank you very much. You weigh a few hundred kilos, your head is huge, your body is short, and your face is covered in bone plates. Like you're wearing a full cosplay armor set with zero ventilation. You're not exactly flexible. But who needs agility when you look like danger? Or at least something that's trying really hard to be dangerous. Truth be told, you're not even trying to be scary. You're just out here, trying to swim in a straight line without slamming into coral, and maybe, just maybe, not kicking those tiny hyperfish that keep tailing you like prehistoric fanboys. Your eyes? Tiny. Planted on the sides of your head like someone installed security cameras. Forward vision? Not great. Side vision? Chef's kiss. Your whole body feels like a design stuck halfway between a biological weapon and a soggy beanbag chair. You don't turn well. You bump into stuff. But listen, you have a jaw. You have no clue how to use it. But you have one. And that already makes you fancier than most life forms out here. In this raw, rowdy ocean, you are living proof of one timeless truth. You don't need to be perfect, just armored enough to feel confident. The jaw, a gift from evolution with no user manual. Okay, so here you are. You've got armor, tiny camera eyes, the turning radius of a shopping cart, and now, this thing in your face, a jaw. You don't exactly remember asking for it. Evolution just sort of dropped it on you like, hey buddy, surprise. Now you can bite stuff. No tutorial, no instructions, just bite. Good luck. And oh, what a revolution it is. Before Jaws, life was all about filter feeding, sifting particles from the water, and gently slurping goo. But now, you can grip, you can snap, you can chew, at least in theory. So far, you've mostly tried to bite things that weren't food, like rocks, or your own fin, or one time the tail of another placoderm. They were not impressed. It's okay. Everyone's learning. But don't let the awkwardness fool you. This jaw is a game changer. You're part of a revolutionary upgrade in vertebrate history. The transition from jawless fish, like those slippery, toothless agnathons, to jawed vertebrates, the gnathostomes. That's right, you're cutting edge, baby. Well, crushing edge, technically. Your jaw is made of fused bony plates, strong enough to bite through shellfish, soft-bodied prey, and the occasional unlucky trilobite. And behind that jaw, muscles, real bite force, not just for catching food, but for holding on to it. Think about it. Without jaws, no sharks, no T-Rexes, no sandwiches. You're the blueprint. So yeah, you might not master this tool today, but you're holding history in your mouth. And that's kind of beautiful. Now, maybe don't try biting the coral again. Okay? Predator in progress, the Devonian learning curve. Let's be honest. Just because you have a jaw doesn't mean you're automatically nature's top assassin. Right now, you're what scientists might call an aspiring predator. What the rest of us call a hot mess with potential. Sure, you look intimidating. You've got armor plating thicker than a medieval castle door. Your jaw could theoretically crush some decent-sized snacks. But so far, your hunting record? Not great. Remember that time you tried to ambush a squid thing from the wrong side and ended up stuck in a kelp patch for 3 hours? Yeah. Not your proudest swim. But hey, evolution isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And right now, you're slowly learning how to use that jaw for targeted strikes, how to recognize prey from non-prey. Note, rocks is not equal to food. How to approach without accidentally tackling the meal. And here's the amazing bit. You're one of the first vertebrates to ever play this game. Before this, marine ecosystems were mostly dominated by a jawless fish drifting like half-asleep noodles, sea scorpions doing way too much, trilobites pretending they owned the place. But now, you, the placoderm, are tipping the scales. For the first time in Earth's long, sleepy story, a vertebrate can actively chase, catch, and eat. You may be clumsy. You may be slow. You may still think your own tail is a threat sometimes. But you are a pioneer of predation, a tank with teeth, a clunky legend in the making. So swim proud, oh awkward hunter. Your time is coming. Design flaws and fish drama life in a walking can opener. Let's talk about your outfit. Your body, to be clear. You're wearing solid bone plates across your head and shoulders. And no, you can't take them off. Ever. It's not fashion. It's survival. But also, it's kind of a pain. You're basically swimming around in a medieval tin can, which means turning is a struggle. Sprinting is out of the question. A backing up? Not even an option. And breathing? Not the smoothest experience either. Placoderms like you had gnarly internal structures. Some species even needed to open and close their heads to suck in water. Yeah, that's right. You hinge your entire skull just to breathe. It's dramatic. It's extra. So you. Now sure, the armor keeps you safe, but it also means you burn more energy just getting from point A to point B. Other fish whisper behind your back. There goes that armored lad again. Took him 3 days to turn around last week. But let them talk. Your design isn't about grace. It's about intimidation. You're not here to win fish ballet. You're here to not get eaten. And maybe eat one thing eventually without choking on it. So yes, you're clunky. Yes, you're heavy. But evolution gave you this outfit for a reason. You are Devonian drama wrapped in biological plate mail. And somewhere deep down, maybe that's enough. Placoderms in the spotlight, legacy of the first jaw titans. Spoiler alert, you don't make it to the next geologic chapter. Sorry, this isn't one of those happily ever after stories. Placoderms, for all their armor, jaws, and sassy attitude, go extinct by the end of the Devonian. Poof, gone. No descendants. But that doesn't mean you failed. Far from it. You were part of something huge, the early rise of jawed vertebrates. Because while your lineage ended, the idea of you didn't. The jaw lived on. It got better, smoother, smarter, passed down like a weird family heirloom from fish to amphibian to reptile to mammal to, humans trying to eat tacos without dropping the filling. And here's the most beautiful part. You didn't have to be perfect. You just had to be first, to try, to chomp awkwardly so others could chomp better. Scientists still dig up your fossils today, your bone armor preserved like the Devonian's most overconfident museum piece. You are studied, admired, and yes, occasionally laughed at. But you matter. Your weird, heavy, oddly designed body was part of a larger movement, the vertebrate revolution. So sleep well tonight, armored fish. You wore your plates proudly. You chomped what you could. And even if your reign was short, your bite reshaped history. 2. The first bone fish. You got bones, baby, the rise of the internal skeleton. Close your eyes. Wiggle your fins. You're about to time travel. Welcome to the Devonian period. Roughly 410 million years ago. Give or take a few million because clocks haven't been invented yet. You are no ordinary fish. You're part of a brand new upgrade pack in the evolutionary saga. One that's about to change vertebrate history forever. You're not made of armor anymore, like those intense, clunky placoderms stomping around earlier in the Devonian. Nope, you're smoother, lighter, dare we say, graceful? Because you've got bones now. Real, internal, glorious, bony bones. Congratulations. You are officially one of the earliest osteichthyans, the bony fish. First, you're a little confused. Your body feels weirdly flexible, like someone replaced your rigid scaffolding with a bendy straw and said, "Hey, try not to swim into the coral this time." Cartilage? That was so last era. Bones are where it's at now. A strong but light, a rigid but still growing, a perfect internal support system like having scaffolding inside your jelly. Now your muscles finally have a proper place to attach. Your movements, way smoother. No more clanging around like a medieval shopping cart. You glide, you wiggle, you live, and you're not just a better swimmer, you're part of an evolutionary leap. Because from these bones, everything changes. Someday your descendants will walk, run, climb, sing, invent pizza. But for now, you're a sleepy little fish, paddling through a warm, shallow sea, bones creaking softly like ancient lullabies. So stretch those fins. Take a lazy loop. History may forget your name, but it will never forget your bones. Flex, flow, and fins movement like never before. Still the Devonian, darling. Around 410 million years ago, give or take a trilobite nap. And you're no longer just a bony fish. You're a swimming masterpiece in progress. An aquatic noodle with a skeleton and ambition. A vertebrate who's about to figure out how to move with style. Because let's be honest, before this, swimming was basically wriggling while praying for stability. Now, you've got fins that mean business. Ray-finned? Lobe-finned? Oh, the choices. Maybe you're a ray-finned fish. Your fins are delicate, webbed fans supported by thin spines. Elegant, lightweight, kinda the ballerina of the sea. Or maybe you're part of the lobe-finned crew, thick, meaty fins with bones inside, built like little muscular paddles. Spoiler alert, that fin is gonna evolve into a leg someday. But for now, it's great for doing dramatic underwater three-point turns. Either way, you're no longer drifting like a wet sock in the tide. You can swerve, hover, accelerate, kind of look intentional while swimming. It's not just locomotion, it's liberation. You're not tied to one current anymore. You can choose where to go, explore more places, and even flee when something with more teeth shows up, which happens often. Fins are your freedom. They're like evolutionary wings, but soggy. They open up a whole new realm of behavioral options, from slow stalking to flirty fin fluttering. Even the first chases begin here. So yes, you're still small. You still look like a fish that hasn't figured out its eyebrows yet. But evolution is watching. And every flick of your new fins is a ripple across time. Because millions of years from now, one of your great-great-great-grandkids will use those same bones to walk onto land. Evolution's great experiment, the two fish families. Picture this. It's still somewhere between 410 and 400 million years ago, and you're living your best finned life. But lately, things have gotten a bit weird at the family gatherings. Because you've noticed a split. A gentle, evolutionary sibling rivalry is blooming. On one side, the ray-finned fish, Actinopterygii. On the other, the lobe-finned fish, Sarcopterygii. Same origin, same bony fish roots, but wildly different dreams. Team Rayfin, the elegant swimmers. These cousins are flashy. Fins like silk fans. Skeletons like featherweight champions. They've got style. They're everywhere. Oceans, rivers, coral crevices. They're not thinking about walking. Why would they? The water's perfect. They're the ones who say, why leave the sea when the sea is basically a spa? They'll go on to become most modern fish today, goldfish, tuna, clownfish, sushi heroes. They'll own the oceans for the next 400 million years. And honestly, respect. Team Lobefin, the quiet rebels. Then there's you, the lobe-finned bunch. Your fins are chunky, muscular, strange. They don't flutter, they push, like little stubby arms, quietly training for something landish. You're not glamorous, but you're curious. And curiosity, dear sleeper, is a dangerous evolutionary drug. One day, one of your cousins, maybe Tiktaalik, will glance at the shoreline and think, what if I just peeked up there? And boom, legs, lungs, frogs, lizards, birds, dinosaurs. You might not know it yet, dear sleepy fish, but your awkward lobe fins, they're holding the blueprint for everything to come. Not better, not worse, just different paths in the great branching tree of life. Some swam deeper, some reached higher, some, like you, quietly carried the possibility of footprints. And that's the beauty of evolution. There's no single right way to exist. Only movement, change, and choices made over eons. One gentle fin flick at a time. The courage to be a bit different. So tonight, if you feel a little out of place, if your fins don't flap quite like the others, maybe that's not a flaw. Maybe it's a future just beginning to unfold. Because sometimes the ones who don't fit in the sea are simply meant to reach the shore. Fossils, fins, and where you lived. You lived your life quietly, swam in the sunlight, wiggled through weeds. No wars, no speeches, just the soft rhythm of gills and tide. And then you stopped, not tragically, just naturally. One day you sank into the silt, covered by layers of time, darkness, pressure, stillness. But funny thing, that wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something else. You became a fossil, a memory written in stone. Not everyone gets that. Not every life leaves a mark. But you did, with your bones. Your beautiful, strange little lobe-finned bones. Millions of years passed. Entire oceans dried. Continents cracked and shifted. And one day, someone found you, a paleontologist, probably wearing a floppy hat and holding a brush far too small for the job, uncovered your fossil and whispered, "Whoa, this one's important." You didn't win battles, you didn't build temples, but your existence became evidence, proof of life, of change, of how we all got here. And isn't that comforting? That even if you didn't know your impact, you still made one. So sleep well, little fossil. You were never forgotten, just waiting to be seen. The blueprint of the future. Bones, fins, questions. That's all you had. But somehow, it was enough. Because those lobe fins of yours, they were more than paddles. They were blueprints. Inside them, nature was quietly sketching the outline of a limb, a future foot, a wrist, an elbow. Ridiculous, right? You couldn't even do a proper somersault without flipping upside down. But still, your body was dreaming ahead. And that's what made you powerful. You weren't just surviving. You were setting the stage. Somewhere far in your descendants' future, someone would take a step onto dry land. Then run, jump, dance, climb. And it all started with you wobbling awkwardly in ancient water. You didn't need to know the plan. You only needed to move a little differently, to be a little heavier, a little stranger, a little new. It's easy to think impact comes from knowing, planning, controlling, but sometimes comes from trusting the drift, from just growing into yourself even if you're not sure why yet. So if you're lying there tonight wondering if you're doing enough, remember this: you're a fish, you're soft, you're wobbly, but you're carrying a whole future inside your bones. 3. Devon Marine Ecosystem, Coral Real Estate, the place where corals reign. Welcome back, sleepy explorer. You're still drifting through the Devonian, about 390 million years ago. But tonight, you're no longer a lone fish. You're a local. And this is the reef. But not just any reef. This is the Devonian reef boom, the original underwater metropolis. Think coral skyscrapers, sponge condos, a 24/7 open concept food court. Your neighbors? Well, they include tabulate corals with hexagon-shaped apartments, stromatoporoids, basically coral bacteria architects, and a wild crowd of squishy invertebrates who've all somehow moved in rent-free. And what are you doing here? You're just floating, watching tiny plankton swirl past like glitter confetti, dodging a nosy trilobite or two, peeking into coral crevices that shimmer like underwater cathedrals. Everything is soft, wavy, glowing, like a dream made of silk and salt. But here's the real magic. These reefs aren't just pretty, they're foundations of life. They offer shelter, breeding grounds, hiding places, and buffet lines for thousands of species. Without them, this ocean would be just water and worry. Healing thought of the night. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is create space. A quiet little corner where life can bloom. Like coral, you don't need to move fast. You just need to grow gently and consistently, and trust that others will come, build, and thrive alongside you. So close your eyes. Imagine the reef all around you. It hums, it breathes, and tonight it cradles you like home. The food web fandango, who eats whom at the uninvited feast. All right, Lil Flipper, so you've survived the reef, avoided being lunch, and maybe even accidentally bit a trilobite. Oops. But now let's talk about the real power move in Devonian life. Friendship, or more scientifically, symbiosis. That's right. This ocean ain't just sharks and snacks. It's also full of strategic roommate situations. Take corals, for example. They're basically lazy landlords. They just sit there, doing absolutely nothing, while microscopic algae move in, pay rent and sugar via photosynthesis, and keep the lights on. Meanwhile, the corals like, sure, grow in my tissues, just don't touch the thermostat. Then there's the shady shrimp who hang around crabs for protection. and the trilobite with back pain who lets a worm chill on his spine in exchange for pest control. Honestly, it's messy, it's codependent, it's adorably desperate. And guess what? You've probably got your own clingy companion too. Maybe a mossy freeloader riding your fin, or a clingfish using you as Uber pool without tipping. But hey, that's life. Soft but salty reminder, even in prehistoric oceans, no one thrived alone. Sometimes you grow faster by leaning on someone else. Sometimes healing means saying, I'll scratch your gills if you scratch mine. So relax, let others help. And remember, the best alliances start with a gentle poke and a polite bubble. A world of color and chaos. Imagine you're drifting along the reef again, dear listener. But this time, turn the saturation up to max. Every rock is a canvas. Every crack in the coral is a dance floor. You've got neon-colored fish flashing like disco lights, prehistoric squid swirling in spirals like ribbon dancers, and crabs who look like they're late for a fashion show. There's no logic to the color schemes here, just Mother Nature going full Picasso. And even though there are no Ninja Turtles, no mermaids flipping their hair in slow-mo, this ocean is already magical. It's loud without sound. It's chaotic but calm. It's messy but magnificently alive. Gentle reminder tonight, in this sea of strangeness, nothing looks the same. And that's the point. Beauty isn't about blending in. It's about being your own weird, wiggly, sparkling self, and still finding your rhythm in the grand dance. So shine weirdly, drift proudly. This chaos, this coordinated, fragile beauty, when beauty is as delicate as a water bubble. Here's the thing they don't tell you about beauty, sweet sleeper. It's not just bold. It's breakable. The Devonian reef looks like a party, feels like paradise, but underneath the sparkle, it's delicate. A shift in temperature, a drop in oxygen, a slow rise in sea level, and suddenly, this entire food web starts unraveling like a snagged sweater. Corals bleach, fish vanish, predators starve. Whole neighborhoods of life disappear like they never existed. And it did happen, more than once. Soft wake-up whisper, even the strongest ecosystems are held together by threads of balance. And the same goes for us. Your energy, your creativity, your joy, they're beautiful. But they also need care, rest, reflection, boundaries. So tonight, cherish your own reef. Protect the colors inside you. And when the tides rise too high, don't panic. Just float gently and start again. Part 2. The first amphibians appeared. 1. From fish to amphibian. When you are the first fish to convince the whole family to learn to walk, you're a fish, but not just any fish. You're the one fish in the whole swampy, murky Devon world who wakes up one morning and thinks, ugh, I think I'm done with swimming. Not because swimming is bad. It's just a little boring lately. The same currents, the same rocks, the same crowd of fish always bumping into you like it's rush hour undersea. You look up at the shore muddy, dry, oddly quiet, and something inside you whispers, what's out there? Your fins, bless them, have been flapping for generations. But lately they've been feeling different, stronger, thicker, like they're practicing for something, like they're not just for swimming anymore. So you start testing them. You push off a log. You sort of stand on the sand. You try to lift yourself just a little, just enough to see above the puddle. And it's awkward. You slide, you slip, you definitely don't look cool. But here's the wild part. It kind of works. Not all the way. but enough to make you wonder, could I go farther next time? The others laugh, of course. Look at that weirdo trying to walk, they say, flipping their tails and going back to their comfy underwater life. But you keep trying, one awkward push at a time, because maybe your fins aren't just fins anymore. Maybe, just maybe, they're becoming something new, something called legs, and that's kind of a big deal. So what if you look silly? So what if you fall 100 times? You moved, you tried, and in the history of life, that's how everything starts. Healing truth to rest with tonight. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be the one brave enough to say, maybe I'm meant for something more. Sleep well, little pioneer. You flopped with purpose today. And tomorrow we take another step. Breathe like you mean it when you learn to breathe both ways for convenience. When you're a fish, but start breathing like a freelancer. Let's talk about breathing. Yeah, everyone does it. Even plants in their own leafy way. But you're not just anyone. You're a fish from the Devonian period, and you've hit an evolutionary identity crisis. See, your ancestors have always breathed through gills. Straightforward, efficient, wet. But one day, as you're swimming through your usual algae-smelling puddle, dodging jelly-like things and avoiding the guy who thinks he's apex predator just because he's got a fancy fin, something changes. The puddle gets shallow, the oxygen low, and your gills struggling. So what do? You cough, you wheeze, you panic flop, and then, miracle of miracles, you gulp air. Not water, real air. Turns out you've got lungs. Surprise. They're tiny, underdeveloped, tucked away like backup batteries, but they work. Suddenly, you're not just a fish. You're a fish with options. Congratulations. You've unlocked dual breathing mode. Gills? Still good underwater. Lungs? Kinda terrible right now, but improving every day. You're like a prehistoric version of a modern multitasker, a biological freelancer, the Devonian era's first work from anywhere life form. Need to survive in stagnant water? You're good. Need to crawl across wet land because your puddle dried up overnight? You got this. Sure, breathing air is messy. It's not glamorous. You look like you're gasping after doing 2 push-ups. But hey, better awkward and alive than cool and extinct. You're adapting, evolving, and you know what? That makes you unstoppable. Here's a little healing thought to breathe in tonight. Sometimes life throws you into a new environment before you feel ready. Your old systems don't work like they used to. The air feels too thin. Everything feels off. But that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're growing lungs. Growth feels weird, clumsy, like breathing through a straw while tap dancing. But it gets easier. And every wheezy, confused, what am I even doing? Moment is part of your upgrade. So, if modern life ever has you gasping, from deadlines, drama, or just trying to survive your inbox, remember this, you're built to adapt. You already have a backup system, even if no one else sees it yet. Breathe, little trailblazer. One lung at a time, you're rewriting the rules of survival. First steps are weird, when you're technically still a fish, but decide to walk anyway. Okay, so here you are, still a fish, still covered in scales, still rocking those weird little side fins like you're wearing biological flip-flops. But something in you has snapped or awakened. You look at the land and think, I don't know what's up there, but it's probably better than hanging out in this mosquito-infested puddle with Steve, the overly dramatic lungfish. So you do it. You wriggle. You flail. You sort of slurp onto a muddy bank like a very confused wet sock. It's not majestic. It's not even functional. But it's a start. Let's be honest, you have no clue what you're doing. Your fins are still fins, kind of, but inside them, little bones are starting to organize a union and say, "We want to stand." And your brain, full of questions. Do I breathe now? Do I paddle back to the water? Why is this so dry and pokey? Meanwhile, your cousins are watching from the water like, "Bro, come back. That's where the gravity lives." And they're not wrong. On land, gravity hits different. There's no water to hold you up. Everything's heavier. Even your eyeballs feel heavier. And don't get us started on bugs. They're huge out here. You cough, you flop, you faceplant. Again. But each flop is better than the last. Your fins start acting more like stumpy limbs. Your belly isn't always dragging. One day you sort of hover for a second. Boom, progress. You're not walking yet. You're flocking, half flop, half walk. It's ugly. It's awkward. It's evolution. Healing truth. The first step doesn't have to look good. It just has to happen. Think about every first you've done in life. First time riding a bike. First time trying to dance. First email you ever sent with kind regards and a weird font. Awkward, right? But necessary. This is your ancient version of that. A wiggly declaration that says, "I may not know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway." So if you're out there now, learning something new, taking your first steps into the unknown, feeling like a hot mess, remember this fish. Remember this moment. Sometimes flopping forward is the bravest thing you can do. And guess what? Flops become footsteps. Footsteps become paths. And paths change history. So sleep easy tonight, little landcrawler. Your journey has just begun. And it's already legendary. 2. The species Ichthyostega and Acanthostega. Meet the stars, Acanthostega and Ichthyostega, the evolution glitches we love. The year? Around 370 million BC. Weather? A bit muggy. Ground? Swampy. Air? Smells like steamed moss with a hint of wet disappointment. And right there, flopping gracefully in the Devonian slime, are our two unexpected celebrities, Acanthostega and Ichthyostega. The fish who accidentally hit update on evolution and grew legs without the manual. Honestly, they looked like fish trying to cosplay lizards, but forgot the costume instructions. Their bodies, still round and slippery like a soggy cucumber. But suddenly limbs, like evolution said, "Let's try arms. For fun." Acanthostega was the chill one. She had legs, sure, but never used them. Land? You no thanks. I'm fine right here, paddling in peace. She had both gills and lungs. Like she wasn't sure which breathing method she wanted to commit to. Ichthyostega, though, bit more dramatic. Bigger, bulkier, and clearly trying to step onto land. Spoiler, every attempt ended with a faceplant. Imagine a soggy sofa trying to climb stairs, that's him. Were they elegant? Absolutely not. But they were brave, clumsy pioneers. Thanks to their weird, unfinished designs, the future got frogs, dinosaurs, and eventually, bedtime reminder. You don't need to be perfect to matter. You don't need to walk well to make history. Being in progress still counts. Now drift off, little evolutionary miracle. Because even half-baked fish can start a revolution. Acanthostega, you are the laziest fish in history and the most lovable. Hey, you awake? Look down. Yeah, those are legs. Nope, not the go run a marathon kind. These are the I have 8 toes per foot and 0 plans kind of legs. Like you're about to play underwater piano, but forgot the song. Welcome to your new role in evolution. Acanthostega, the fish that refuses to go full land mode. Yep. While your ambitious cousins are out there flopping onto shore like it's a TikTok challenge, you're just floating in the shallows like, no thanks. Land looks crunchy, the sun's too bright, and I don't do dust. You've got gills, you've got lungs. You don't really know how to use either. So you use both, like a modern human turning on both Wi-Fi and mobile data just to watch a cat video in 4K. And your legs? Adorable. Useless, but adorable. You paddle with them, sure. Gently, casually. Nothing intense. No climbing. No revolutionary marches. Just a polite little underwater toe wiggle like, see? I evolved. But I'm not in a rush. Okay? You're basically that kid in yoga class who lies in child's pose the whole session but still wears pro gear and gets full credit for showing up. But listen, you're still an icon. Not because you sprinted onto land, but because you dared to have legs when almost no one else did. You were different, quietly groundbreaking, a gentle evolutionary whisper in a world of splashes. And here's your sleepy little healing truth. You don't have to be ready yet. You don't have to conquer mountains today. You don't have to hustle just because everyone else is. Sometimes progress looks like staying in the warm water just a little longer, letting your body prepare in peace. Sometimes bravery is choosing stillness, even when movement is trending. You, sweet passive legend, are proof that change doesn't always shout. It wiggles quietly with 8 toes and takes a nap afterward. So drift now. Let the soft weeds wrap around your little legs. The water is calm. The world is not rushing you. You're doing just fine exactly as you are. And if tomorrow you feel like crawling 1 inch closer to land, cool. If not, the ocean still loves you. Sleep well, gentle rebel of the shallows. Tomorrow we might wiggle a little farther. Or not. Both are beautiful. Ichthyostega, you finally drag yourself onto land and immediately regret it. Well, look at you. You finally did it. You pulled yourself out of the water like the soggy overachiever you are. Meet your new self, Ichthyostega, the original land explorer. Sort of. Mostly. Occasionally. When it's not too sunny. Your vibe? A determined noodle with legs, dragging your damp fish but across mud flats like someone trying to sneak out of a pool party unnoticed. Let's be real. Walking isn't your strong suit. You waddle, flop, and belly slide with all the grace of a wet sock full of bones. Your front limbs are doing most of the work while the back ones, kinda there for emotional support. But here's the thing you're trying. You're pushing past the comfortable seaweed beds and entering a place where your gills are useless. Your skin dries out faster than spilled tea on a hot sidewalk, and you can't even swim away when embarrassed. And yet, you crawl on. You are evolution's first awkward attempt at saying, "Hey land, what's up?" Healing thought for the night. It's okay to be clumsy when you're doing something no one's done before. Every faceplant forward is still progress. You, dear listener, are the wobbly beginning of everything that followed: dinosaurs, birds, humans, bad TikTok dances. All of it. So flop proudly, pioneer. You're making muddy history. Breathe in, breathe out, kind of the struggle of double breathing. Here's a fun fact about you, Ichthyostega. Breathing is complicated. On good days, you breathe through your lungs because you're on land and need that sweet, dry oxygen. On bad days, You panic breathe through your gills and regret every decision that led you out of the water in the first place. Basically, you're the ancient version of someone who doesn't know whether to wear shorts or bring an umbrella, so you do both and still suffer. But you know what's kind of beautiful? You're adaptable. Messy, yes. Confused, definitely. But evolving all the same. Gentle truth to drift off with. Life doesn't always come with perfect transitions. Sometimes you're caught between two worlds, two selves, two systems. And that's okay. You're proof that surviving isn't always about mastering something. Sometimes it's just about figuring it out as you go, even if your lungs wheeze and your gills sulk. So breathe in however you can. You're doing fine, half-gilled wonder. The first steps are always a bit slippery. It's sunset in the Devonian. You, ichthyostiga, are perched at the edge of a puddle, staring into the great unknown. A few feet of mossy ground, maybe a fern or two, a weird buzzing insect that looks like it wants to fight you. You gulp through whichever system is functioning at the moment, and you wiggle forward. It's not graceful. One leg moves, then another. You faceplant again. Your tail flops like a broken umbrella in the wind. But you keep going. Not far, just enough. Enough to say, yes, I was here. I walked. Sort of. Healing bedtime wisdom. Your first steps don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be powerful. They just need to be yours. And you, little legend, have taken them. You've started something unstoppable. And all it took was the courage to crawl out of the familiar and flop into the unknown. Now lie down on that damp moss, exhale whatever system is working, and rest. Because tomorrow, evolution continues. Good night, you soggy dreamer with a destiny. You're doing great, even if you're still kind of walking sideways. 3. Impact on the ecosystem. From snack to predator, ban tung la duin, geo la ku dat menu. Wakey wakey, little noodle with legs. Guess what? You've officially graduated. Yesterday, you were plankton's emotional support fish. Today, you're the drama. That's right. You're not just a snack anymore, you're out here choosing who gets eaten. Feels weird, right? From being food to being the one with a menu. Of course, you're still a bit clumsy. Your limbs? They flop like wet socks. Your hops? More like controlled falling. But hey, on land, even falling counts as forward momentum. Other creatures are eyeing you like, wait, it's allowed to have legs and lungs now? And you just wink or try to. Your eyes aren't great yet, and whisper, get on my evolutionary level. The food chain is expanding, and guess who's climbing it? You, with your awkward limbs, your half-functional lungs, and your deeply confused confidence. You're out here munching insects like popcorn, termites, beetles, that one overly dramatic centipede? Yeah. You snack, therefore you evolve. And if anyone dares underestimate you, just remind them you used to be bottom-tier fish food, and now you're top-tier land klutz. Progress, baby. Even if you're tripping over your own fins-turned feet, you're still moving up. You don't need to dominate the food chain. Just stop being someone else's lunch. Good night, predator in progress. Dream of crunchy bugs and unbothered confidence. Survival of the snarkiest, the biological war and random kicks. So you've made it to land. Yay! But oh, so has Gary. Gary the lungfish. Gary with bigger legs. And also Sheila. Sheila the salamander-looking one with the weird glare. Suddenly, this whole being the first thing? Not so exclusive anymore. Now, it's survival of the least clumsy. And you? You trip over your own tail like a wet spaghetti. But you've got heart. And sarcasm. And sometimes, that's enough. Gary tries to steal your bug stash. You glare at him with both eyes pointing in different directions. Classic intimidation. Sheila starts flexing her stronger limbs. You casually mention that you have 8 toes and use them all at once like a pro. Spoiler, you don't. But who's counting? The truth is, competition is rough. Some will hop faster. Some will breathe better. Some just have more flattering pigmentation. But you've mastered the art of flopping with style. Healing chuckle to take to bed. In a world full of fast, sleek, and shiny, there's still room for the awkward, stubborn, and semi-squishy. You don't have to be the best amphibian. Just be the funniest one that survives. Now go to sleep, you adorable underdog. May tomorrow's rivals trip harder than you do. Plant friends and peace treaties, stabilizing the ecosystem through accidentally stepping on it. Okay, you didn't mean to step on that moss patch, or the tiny fern baby, or knock over that mushroom like it was a medieval traffic cone. But guess what? Nature noticed, and for once it liked it. Your wobbly wanderings accidentally helped scatter spores, open up soil, and fertilize ground with your, let's say, enthusiastic digestion. That's right. You, the wiggly amphibian, are now a landscape architect. Plants start to root deeper. Fungi find new dance floors. And whole ecosystems begin to balance. All because you needed to pee in a new spot. You're not just walking through nature, you're changing it. You're tiny amphibious but helped turn soggy earth into structured food webs. Now beetles depend on moss. Frogs depend on beetles. And you're the clumsy little catalyst at the center of it all. Healing wink to end the night. Even your messiest footsteps can plant something beautiful. Even your weirdest instincts can stabilize a world. So don't worry if you feel like a walking accident. Sometimes that's exactly how ecosystems bloom. Sweet dreams, accidental gardener of earth. From lonely wriggles to webs of life. Remember when it was just you, your limbs, your dreams, and a slightly judgmental mud puddle? Well, not anymore. Thanks to your evolutionary flopfest, more weirdos like you are showing up. Some hop, some slither, some just vibe on rocks looking philosophical. Suddenly, it's not just survival, it's community, like prehistoric social networking, but without the oversharing and selfies. You sniff the air, okay, you mostly wheeze, but the system is forming. Predators, prey, scavengers, decomposers. It's not chaos anymore. It's choreography, an ecosystem waltz, starring you as the lead clumsy dancer. And while you may not be the smartest or fastest, you're the glue. The awkward, slimy glue that connects frogs to ferns, bugs to soil, and mushrooms to meaning. Healing high five to dream with. You don't have to do it all. Sometimes just showing up, unbalanced and curious, is enough to hold the world together. So rest, you magnificent piece of the puzzle. Tomorrow we build even more links, one hop at a time. Legacy of the limp, when a clumsy tumble is enough to make history. Let's get one thing straight. You didn't set out to change the world. You just wanted to breathe and maybe not get eaten that day. But plot twist, you became history. Millions of years later, some bipedal, hairless ape, high humans, digs up your fossil and goes, "Whoa, this little dude was kind of a big deal." You, the half-fish, half-sock puppet thing that tripped into greatness? Yes, that's you. You're not just a link in the evolutionary chain. You're the whole bracelet, baby. Because your tiny misadventure out of the water meant plants could spread, animals could evolve, and life could finally throw a proper party on land. healing truth to tuck in with. Even the wobbliest steps can ripple across time. Even your detours can become someone else's map. So snuggle into that mossy corner, sleepy trailblazer. You've done enough for today, and tomorrow we keep evolving with sass, class, and the occasional belly flop. Part 3: Warm Climate and Biodiversity Diversification. 1. Devon climate: warm, cozy, and just moist enough. Ice? Never heard of her. Welcome to the Cozy Planet Club. Hey, welcome back, sleepy sea creature. You're not frozen, you're not shivering, because guess what? It's the Devonian. And ice? Yeah, that diva hasn't RSVP'd to Earth in ages. You're living in the age of eternal spring, baby. Polar caps? Non-existent. Blizzards? Not invited. It's like the entire planet slipped into a fluffy robe, poured itself some lukewarm algae tea, and said, "Let's just chill, evolution style." What does that mean for you? Oceans are higher than your ambitions. Shorelines are stretched out like yoga mats. There's more shallow water than a comment section on the internet, and every inch of it is buzzing with life. You're gliding through warm, tropical currents like it's your natural spa. No icy shocks, no cold fronts ruining your gill game. Just one long, gentle simmer of sunlight and plankton vibes. The lack of glacial coverage lets sea levels rise, creating more shallow habitats. Perfect for reefs, fish, and drama. Lots of drama. Evolution doesn't do calm for long. But for now, enjoy it. You, your ancient pals, and a bazillion new species are swimming through one of Earth's smoothest eras. Healing nudge. Sometimes the best conditions for growth aren't extreme. They're just safe, warm, and steady. Just like now. Just like you. So float easy, my Devonian darling. You're part of a golden age. No mittens required. Stable and steady wins the race. No mood swings, just evolution. So how's the weather? Exactly the same as yesterday, and the day before, and probably next week too. Welcome to the Devonian forecast. Stable, consistent, emotionally mature climate. No icy tantrums, no volcanic meltdowns, no continental drama. The sun isn't out here burning bridges. It's just warming gently like a supportive bestie. You're a fish, or maybe a tree, depending on today's evolutionary costume. And your entire ecosystem is vibing because of this sweet, unproblematic temperature. Think of it as Earth's most well-balanced skincare routine. Not too dry, not too oily, just the perfect balance for life to glow up. Nerd moment. With stable CO2 levels and minimal tectonic messiness, the climate let photosynthetic organisms go wild. More sunlight, more plants, more plants, more oxygen, more oxygen. Bigger, weirder animals with dreams and gills. You're not evolving in chaos. You're evolving in peace. And somehow that makes your weird little lung fins feel valid. Healing moment, you don't need chaos to grow. Sometimes what you really need is consistency. A little warmth, a little space, a chance to breathe, just like now. So keep swimming or wiggling or sprouting at your own pace. No rush, no race. The Devonian's not going anywhere fast, except maybe toward more biodiversity. But we'll get there soon. Let there be dirt. The soil saga begins. Okay, listen up, little earth hugger. You might think soil has always been a thing, like it just came with the planet, free with every volcano. But nope. Back in the early Earth days, we had rocks, we had sand, we even had mud puddles. But real soil? That was deluxe content. And the Devonian finally unlocked it. And guess who helped make it happen? Plants. Yup, those leafy introverts growing silently on the shoreline. While you were out here doing your dramatic fish things, they were secretly transforming the entire planet one sneaky root at a time. Roots started digging into rocks, breaking them down slowly, like ancient spa exfoliation but with way more pressure. Add a little water, some decomposing life bits, and boom, dirt. Moist, nutrient-rich, earthy-smelling dirt. The kind of ground you could actually grow on. Soil formation allowed land plants to expand, bacteria to thrive, and carbon to start cycling like a pro. It made terrestrial ecosystems possible. Without soil, no forests, no land animals, no picnic spots. And for you, that dirt meant options. Food webs expanded. Life crawled out of the water, stretched, and went, this isn't so bad. Growth doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it looks like waiting, rooting, softening the ground beneath you so others can thrive. So if you're ever feeling like you're doing nothing, just remember, the first soil took millions of years to form, and look what it led to. Now close those gills. Let the quietness of old roots tuck you in. Sleep well, little pioneer. Earth in chill mode, the ultimate anti-anxiety planet. Picture this, Earth's had a lot of phases. There was the fireball phase, the meltdown phase, the icy emo phase. But right now, she's in soft girl mode. The Devonian climate was basically Earth lighting a candle, putting on ocean wave sounds and vibing. Everything's calm. Temperatures, stable. Ice caps, small to non-existent. Mood swings, not today, Satan. The oceans are warm but not boiling. Breezes are cool but not deadly. And life is absolutely thriving because nobody's throwing a tantrum every other geologic minute. And you're out here, fins, protolungs, weird half-leg things, living your best life in this giant planetary spa. This stability let marine and terrestrial ecosystems develop in parallel. Coral reefs exploded in complexity. Fish diversified. Plants went from moss blobs to full-on leafy drama queens. Why? Because the weather wasn't screaming at them for once. Maybe this is your sign to let life unfold when you're not in survival mode. Calmness isn't boring. It's fertile ground. So if your day feels uneventful, if everything seems meh, maybe you're in your own Devonian moment, and that sleepy friend is a gift. Now float easy. The wind's on low setting. The sun's at golden hour. And evolution is vibing. The rise of the chill green giants. Plants take over, politely. Let's get one thing straight. The Devonian wasn't all about fish drama. Nope. While the underwater crew was out there inventing jaws and crashing into coral, something way quieter, but way cooler was happening above sea level. Plants were plotting. At first, they were small. Mosses, liverworts, shy little green blobs that barely made a shadow. But then, boom, ferns, giant lycophytes, trees with actual trunks, forests' roots that cracked rocks like slow-motion lightning. Plants didn't just show up, they moved in. And how did they do it? With zero noise, zero claws, just peaceful, persistent growth. The evolution of vascular tissue, aka plant plumbing, let greenery grow tall, transport nutrients, and stabilize the soil. Changed the air, changed the water, changed everything. You're a little fish watching the horizon go from barely green to full jungle. You blink, you gawk, you sip some prehistoric plankton and mutter, well, that escalated calmly. Sometimes the most powerful transformations don't yell. They root deep, stretch slow, and change the world while no one's watching. So grow like the first forest. No pressure, no deadline, just steady, leafy magic. Now snuggle in. The trees are whispering bedtime stories, and they've had millions of years to practice. 2. When trees took the stage, you are a weed transformed into a giant tree. Baby needles, big dreams. Congratulations. You're a pine tree now. Okay, maybe not full-on Christmas tree yet. More like a spiky green broomstick with delusions of grandeur. But still, you've evolved. You're no longer that squishy moss that gets stepped on by every slimy amphibian waddling past. Nope, you've got ambition. You've got needles. Your leaves are tiny, tough, and sharp, like you're preparing for a photosynthesis duel. Rain? Who cares? Sunburn? Try me. You're the botanical equivalent of someone wearing sunglasses at night. Dramatic, but kind of iconic. See, in a world where most plants are still doing the stay moist and hug the swamp lifestyle, you've decided to stand tall. Literally. You reach higher, grow stronger, and flex your needle leaves like tiny green power moves. And the best part? You don't need much to thrive. Dry soil? No problem. Cold winds? Bring it on. Other plants may wilt under pressure, but you just sip sunlight and keep rising. Early Devonian conifers were among the first plants to develop needle-like leaves, reducing water loss and allowing growth in drier, more exposed environments. You don't need to be flashy to be revolutionary. You just need to keep growing, even when no one claps. So go ahead, little tree. Root down, stretch up. You may not have fruit, flowers, or flair, but you've got focus. And that's how forests begin. Rooting for you when you finally decide to commit. Hey, guess what? You just grew roots. Yup. No more drifting with the wind like some emotionally unstable fern. You're now a plant who's settling down, building real estate, and possibly applying for underground mortgages. Your roots, they go down, baby, deep into the dirt. Not just for show. They're slurping up water, locking in minerals, and saying, yeah, I live here now. Honestly, it's like going from couch surfing to planting a picket fence and yelling at the neighbor fungus to turn down their spores. And let's talk impact. While other plants are out there vibing with puddles, you're stabilizing soil, preventing erosion, holding the earth together with your tiny underground noodle arms. A literal eco-hero. Devonian plants were among the first to develop complex root systems, anchoring into the soil and drastically changing landscapes by helping form rich, organic topsoil. Sometimes progress doesn't look like growing taller, it looks like digging deeper. It means choosing to stay, even when it's messy, even when no one sees. So next time you feel a little stuck, remember, some of the strongest growth happens below the surface. You're not stuck, you're taking root. Now breathe deep and soak it up. You're literally grounded. Climate control. Congratulations, you're basically Earth's first air conditioner. So here you are, a proud little plant with roots deep in the dirt and needles pointing at the sky like tiny green antennas. And guess what? You just accidentally became Earth's first climate technician. Yeah. While everyone else is out there photosynthesizing like amateurs, you're subtly cooling the planet. No buttons, no remote, just pure, leafy science. Every time you breathe in CO2 and release oxygen like it's no big deal, you're literally lowering greenhouse gases. Every time your needles block sunlight and your roots trap moisture, you're regulating temperature and rainfall. Every time you shade the soil, you're saying, relax, dirt. I got you. Devonian forests played a huge role in transforming the Earth's climate. Their growth drew down CO2, which cooled the atmosphere and helped create more stable ecosystems. Sure, you're not famous like volcanoes or meteorites, but you didn't come to explode. You came to heal. Sometimes the most powerful changes don't make a sound. They don't need drama or fireworks. They just grow quietly, one needle at a time, until the whole world feels better. So if you've ever felt too small to make an impact, remember the Devonian trees. No noise, no hype, just slow, steady, planet-altering love. Now rest, sweet photosynthetic pioneer. Tomorrow we shade the earth. Welcome to the Bug Club. You're the first insect who thought, I might be special. Congrats, you just hatched from an egg. Not a chicken egg, not a fish egg, an insect egg. Just the Devonian baby roughly 400 million years ago. No traffic, no TikTok, just moss, mud, and more moist air than a spa with broken ventilation. You twitch your legs, blink your compound eyes. So many lenses, so little context. And look around. Wait a second. Why is everyone so tiny? Oh right, because you, my crunchy friend, are one of the first insects in Earth's history. A six-legged miracle. A multi-jointed fashion icon with armor so sleek, even future beetles would be jealous. You've got antennae wiggling like they're tuning into ancient radio waves. Your abdomen? Segmented like a gourmet bug sushi roll. And your exoskeleton? Honestly, it slaps. It's giving, don't mess with me. I survived molting. Also, pest, you might soon be able to fly. Yeah, you, flying, with wings. Take that, fish. So yes, it's okay to feel weird. To look at your 6 legs and think, was this a mistake? It wasn't. You're not weird. You're a revolution on tiny legs. Being the first at anything feels awkward, lonely, a little crunchy, but that I don't fit in feeling? That's evolution whispering, keep going. You're not lost, you're leading. Now rest, you shiny little legend. Tomorrow, you explore leaf shadows and flirt with a fern. Big day, big bug energy. Life, love, and molting drama. Your love story and transformation, in a way. With many legs, you're grown now. No longer that trembling baby bug freshly popped out of an egg. You're a full-fledged adult with a life cycle that's, frankly, a bit much. First up, molting. No, not like, I'm changing spiritually after a yoga retreat. We're talking literal, full-body outfit changes. You wriggle out of your exoskeleton like peeling off wet skinny jeans in public. Except worse, because now you're soft, wobbly, and edible. You do this multiple times. And after each molt, you've got about 15 minutes where you're basically a walking pudding. The predator buffet is open. You're the buffet. And then there's love. You catch a whiff of pheromones drifting on the Devonian breeze. Your antennae perk up. You wiggle. You strut. You unleash the sexiest mating dance you can manage without falling over. You hope for romance. You hope for connection. You hope not to be eaten afterward. Yeah, some species do that. Love in the Devonian? Kinda dramatic. Not every molt goes smoothly. Not everyone you love will love you back. But you still evolve. Because surviving isn't just about strength. It's about showing up. Even if you're squishy and weird. So rest, little bug hero. Tomorrow you'll molt again. Flirt awkwardly, and maybe, just maybe, live another day in the most unpredictable ecosystem ever. And hey, if you get eaten after your next romantic encounter, at least you went out fabulous. Symbiotic shenanigans. When your roommate is a sea cucumber you didn't ask for. So, you've survived molting. You've dodged predators. You maybe had a short-lived romance, literally. Now what? Well, welcome to Devonian cohabitation, baby. Out here, nobody lives alone. This isn't some neat suburban bug condo. This is more like An organic, underwater Airbnb where your roommates are fungi, worms, and things with way too many legs. Enter your new neighbor, a sea cucumber. Does it talk? No. Does it move? Barely. Does it mind when you accidentally step on it during a midnight algae snack? Not really. But this unbothered blob is your new best friend. Not because you chose it, but because symbiosis is the hottest real estate strategy of the Devonian world. You share food. You share space. You might even share your poop because, well, life's weird like that down here. Meanwhile, some bugs are teaming up with fungi. Why? Because fungi are like your chill cousin who doesn't talk much but quietly provides you with nutrients while you do literally nothing helpful in return. And let's not forget the fish. Some like your company. Others think you're seasoning. Relationships don't always make sense. Sometimes your best ally is a squishy sea blob with zero ambition. Sometimes you just need to float in the mess and trust that coexistence is a superpower. So rest up, tiny roommate. You're not just surviving, you're participating in the grand experiment of, what if we just all kind of lived together? Tomorrow, maybe your roommate will be a sponge. Again, why can't I fly yet? The existential crisis of a grounded insect. Okay, let's talk about it. You've got legs. You've got feelers. You've got swagger. But wings? Nope, nada. Not yet. Every time you look up at the sky and see a leaf gently falling, you sigh dramatically like, that could have been me. But here's the Devonian reality. You're an insect in beta. Flight hasn't been invented yet. Not for your kind. So you do what all emotionally unfulfilled bugs do, you crawl with flair. Some of you jump. Some skitter. Some just kind of awkwardly scoot sideways and pretend it's on purpose. Meanwhile, you dream of flight like it's the hot new upgrade that hasn't dropped yet. You stare at dragonfly prototypes still in R&D and think, ugh, Nepo babies. But guess what? Your wingless days are not wasted. While you're crawling, you're building empires. You're exploring moss forests. You're mastering life in 3 centimeters of territory like it's a kingdom. Sometimes you feel behind, like others are soaring while you're stuck in the dirt. But darling, wings don't make you evolved. Patience does. Grounded doesn't mean powerless. It means you're preparing, observing, becoming. So tonight, snuggle deep into that bark crevice. Let the wind whoosh above your head like a promise. You'll fly one day, but tonight, you rest like the prequel to greatness that you are. Tomorrow, maybe, we dream of wings again. Oops, I just invented an ecosystem. The accidental importance of insects. You were just minding your business, gnawing on a fern, crawling up a tree root, maybe flirting with a beetle 2 logs over. And then boom, suddenly you're important. Like, foundation of the ecosystem important. You didn't sign up for this. You just wanted a snack. But apparently all that nibbling you did, it recycled nutrients. Your droppings? Literal soil gold. And that little romantic stroll through moss? Congrats, you just pollinated a prehistoric plant. Wait, I'm a what now? A key player in the circle of life? Me? Yep, you. The bug with commitment issues and a head 3 sizes too big. You're accidentally stabilizing food webs. You're connecting fungi to trees, predators to prey, plants to survival. No cape, no superpowers. Just 6 legs, 1 mission. Exist with chaotic enthusiasm. Healing nudge from your inner bug therapist. You don't always know the impact you have. Sometimes just doing your weird little thing, munching, moving, making, is enough to keep the world turning. Not all heroes fly. Some of them just poop strategically. So tonight, rest easy, you unsung architect of life. The Devonian forest would literally collapse without you. Tomorrow, we nibble with purpose. Part 4. The marine and terrestrial ecosystem of the Devonian. 1. Devonian coral reefs. When you are a fish living in a luxury ocean apartment. Welcome to the Coral Club, where everyone's got issues and tentacles. Picture this, you are now a proud resident of the Devonian period. This roughly 400 million years ago. And guess what? You're living the dream underwater again. But this time, not just any soggy patch of sea. You're nestled inside the hottest real estate of the time. A Devon coral reef. No, not those polite modern reefs with snorkeling tourists and sunscreen bans. We're talking prehistoric reef nightlife. Neon bright, overgrown, buzzing, well, metaphorically. This is underwater, with creatures bumping into each other and minding zero personal space. Welcome to the Coral Club, where the motto is, if you're weird and squishy, you belong. Here, the architecture's been designed by tabulate corals and stromatoporoids. Names that sound like dinosaur law firms but are actually reef-building champions of the Devon. These dudes don't just sit there looking pretty. They stack themselves into towering limestone condos, offering prime shelter and snack hideouts for all kinds of freeloaders. Crinoids cling to the sides like sea lilies on a shopping spree. Trilobites wander through like confused janitors. Even tiny prehistoric fish dart in and out like they're late for school. And you're probably some kind of jelly-bodied whatever, floating through this calcium carbonate chaos like a soft-boiled dumpling. But here's the catch, you belong here. No one cares that you have no spine, literally. No idea what you're doing or that you just bumped into a sponge and apologized to it. It's a mess. A noisy, colorful, overly touchy mess. But it works. The Devon Reef isn't just a place. It's a whole ecosystem with commitment issues. Every creature is connected, emotionally unavailable but biologically interdependent. Predators lurk in crevices, prey hides in holes, and filter feeders just sit there, silently judging the rest of the party while sieving plankton through their weird little mouths. But despite the drama, or maybe because of it, the reef thrives. It's rich in nutrients, crowded with diversity, and always one minor extinction event away from a makeover. And here's your healing bedtime takeaway. Sleepy reef dweller. You don't need to be the biggest, the brightest, or even the smartest squishy thing on the reef. You just have to show up, fit in somewhere, float when you're tired, glow a little when you can, and understand this universal truth. Even the oddest organisms, when stacked together, can build something majestic. So go on, find a coral to cuddle, snuggle next to a trilobite, let the sea lull you to sleep with its ancient, bubbly hum. Tomorrow we navigate reef traffic and try not to get eaten. But tonight, just rest. You're part of something ancient and beautiful. Hide and seek with sharks, the real reason reefs exist. So you're still here, floating in your cozy nook of Devonian reef, dodging awkward eye contact with that suspicious trilobite neighbor. Why is he always side-eyeing you like you stole his algae? But look around. Ever wonder why this reef is such a hotspot? Why every fin, fong, and floppy soft-bodied oddball insists on squeezing into this calcium-crowded block party? It's not just the nightlife or the coral cocktails, which, let's be honest, taste like plankton-flavored bathwater. It's because this reef is the ultimate Airbnb. Think about it. Out in the open ocean, it's all eat or be eaten. A full-time anxiety buffet. Giant armored fish zoom by like hungry buses, and jellyfish sneak up on you like that one coworker who doesn't knock before entering. But in here, the reef's got nooks, crannies, underwater cubicles. You can tuck yourself behind a sponge and pretend you're invisible for a whole afternoon. Need to escape a predator? Duck into a coral crack like, "Nope, not today, Dunkleistus." Want to raise your weird transparent babies? Perfect. No one will step on them here. Mostly because everyone floats. And if you're lucky, you might score prime reef real estate behind a tabulate coral wall. Not too flowy, good visibility, low predator traffic. The Zillow listing would say, perfect for introverts who breathe through gills. But fair warning, the reef is crowded. You've got filter feeders flapping their tentacles in your face, crinoids doing their wavy yoga all over your front porch, and random worms slithering through your living room like they own the place. Still, it's better than the chaos outside, because out there, you're on the menu. Reefs didn't just evolve to look pretty. They evolved to survive the mess, to create safe zones in a time when sea monsters had anger issues and no personal boundaries. They're Mother Nature's panic rooms with decorative flair. And here's your sleepy, healing reminder. Even in a world full of teeth and turbulence, there's always somewhere to breathe. A space, however small or strange, that lets you pause, float, recover, and say, okay, I'm not dinner today. That's a win. You don't need to dominate the ocean to matter. You don't need to be the apex predator to survive. Sometimes, being the clever little critter who finds a hidey hole and minds their business, that's the smartest move of all. So tonight, curl up in your coral nook. Let the reef hum around you. You've got shelter. You've got space. And most importantly, you've got a tomorrow. How reefs turned you into a fish with feelings. Okay, real talk. You, dear Devonian fish, were never meant to be just a floating sandwich in the food chain. Not with that face. Not with that flair. And definitely not with that one fancy fin you like to flick dramatically when swimming past your crush. But here's the tea. It's the reef that made you you. Because in this maze of coral corners, something incredible started happening. Community. Yeah, we know that word sounds suspiciously like a group project. But stay with me. For millions of years, most sea creatures were loners. It was all me versus the world. Bite first, ask questions never. And if I can't eat it, I ignore it. But in the reef, suddenly everyone was in everyone else's business. There were so many species squished together that you couldn't help but evolve. Faster, smarter, sassier. You had to learn how to navigate tight social circles. Like not swimming directly into someone's gills. Rude. Or not accidentally laying eggs in your neighbor's algae garden. Super rude. Predators got sneakier. Prey got swifter. Colors got wilder. Camouflage got weirdly good. And you didn't just adapt. You glowed up. Maybe you grew dazzling stripes to impress potential mates. Maybe your fins started flapping in oddly elegant rhythms that made other fish go, whoa! He swims like he's got somewhere to be. You stopped being a mindless muncher and started becoming a multitasking marvel. Dodging jaws, hunting snacks, flirting, and avoiding coral collisions, all while maintaining flawless gill posture. Thanks to the chaos of the reef, you learned something priceless. How to live with others, to anticipate, to cooperate, to dance the social dance of survival, even when your dance moves were questionable. Because honestly, the Devon Reef was the original group therapy session. Everyone showed up with evolutionary baggage, sensory overload, and mild trust issues. But somehow, through the bumps and body slams, it worked. And here's your healing bedtime truth. You don't evolve in isolation. You grow because of others, even the annoying ones. You sharpen your skills, find your rhythm, and soften your shell, metaphorically. Unless you're a mollusk, not by hiding from the world, but by swimming through it with curious eyes and a heart full of, I'm trying, okay? So drift off tonight with that truth tickling your gills. You're not alone in this reef of life, and you're already more evolved than you think. 2. Terrestrial creatures, you are the first inhabitants of the earth. Vascular plants, the drama queens of the Devonian forest. All right, my dear leafy time traveler, open your chlorophyll-rich eyes. You've just landed in the Devonian period around 400 million years ago. And surprise, you're a plant. Not just any plant. You're one of the very first vascular plants to ever exist. That's right. You've got tubes. You've got attitude. And honey, you've got ambition. Back in the good old Silurian days, your plant ancestors were basically green spaghetti noodles flopped on wet rocks, hoping not to dry out. Cute, but not exactly inspiring. But you said, let's elevate. Literally. With xylem and phloem, your internal plumbing system, you can now suck water up from the ground and send nutrients around like a boss. You're a walking juice bar. Well, not walking, more like aggressively growing. And suddenly, everything changes. You're no longer just clinging to moist patches like moss at a spa day. You're standing tall. Okay, you're still only a few inches high, but hey, in the Devonian, that's basically skyscraper status. You're the redwood of your street, the Beyoncé of the bog. Other plants look at you and whisper, wow, they've got structure. Of course, being tall has its problems. Wind, for one. Gravity, for another. But you dig in literally. You sprout roots. Big, bold, branching ones. You're gripping that soil like you paid rent on it. You're making dirt your personality. And honestly, it's working. And get this, because of you and your vascular squad, Earth's landscape is transforming. The air gets more oxygenated. Soil starts forming. Little critters show up and go, whoa, this is cozy. Ecosystems begin to bloom. All because you decided to level up from green slime to green legend. But here's the healing truth beneath all the Devonian drama. You don't have to bloom overnight. Evolution isn't about speed, it's about persistence. It's about putting down roots when the wind howls and growing a little taller even when no one's watching. You may be small, leafy, and occasionally trampled by clueless arthropods, but you're part of something massive. You are the quiet revolution, the green miracle, the one that made forests possible. So stretch your stems, sip your sunlight, and take a breath of your own freshly produced oxygen. Thank you very much. You're not just a plant. You're history in slow photosynthetic motion. And if that doesn't make you feel powerful, wait until the ferns show up wearing fronds like fashion statements. But we'll get to them later. Now rest, little stem icon. You've got forests to grow tomorrow. Arthropod invasion, the first creepy-crawly landlords. Pissed. Hey you. Yeah, you, the tiny creature poking your antenna out from behind a Devonian rock. Don't be shy. Everyone's awkward their first time in the sun. Welcome to another crunchy morning in Devon. Not a beach resort, but just above the soil where you, a proud early arthropod, are thinking about moving out. You don't have a backbone, which, let's be honest, a lot of modern adults don't either. But what you do have is a slick, armor-plated exoskeleton. Every step you take screams, I may be slow, but honey, I came dressed. You've got more legs than most people have unread notifications. Are you sure you know what they're all doing? Honestly, no. Some are walking, some are waving, some just a vibe. Each leg is a different personality. Is that moss? Oops, tripped again. I vote we go back to the ocean. You, dear friend, are a distant ancestor of spiders, ants, scorpions, and all those future bugs that humanity will try to squish with shoes. But you're not scary. You're tiny, determined, and doing something bold. Breathing air, chewing algae, and casually rewriting life's real estate rules. You don't have to be graceful. You don't even have to know what you're doing. You trip, you tumble, sometimes you roll into a root and lie there like a potato bug on break. And still, every wonky crawl is a caption in Earth's favorite evolution scrapbook. Sleepy healing truth. Everyone's clumsy at the beginning. It's not about crawling straight, it's about having the guts to crawl at all. So take a break, little legend. Sniff the mossy air of this ancient jungle. Close your many eyes. And tomorrow, if you feel like it, crawl 1 inch further. Or not. No pressure. Devon's not going anywhere. Forest neighborhoods, bug real estate gets wild. So you've crawled out of the ocean. You've tripped over a fern root. You've licked some moss that tasted weird. Congratulations. You're officially a terrestrial insect with questionable instincts but impressive enthusiasm. Welcome to the first forest. It's not quite a 5-star jungle yet. More like startup vegetation. No flowers, no fruits, no hammocks made of vines. Just early club mosses, ferns, and plants trying really hard to look tall but constantly falling over in the wind. Think of it as a construction zone with a great view. But to you, it's paradise. You're running through the undergrowth like you own the place, waving your antenna like you're showing off your new property to your invertebrate friends. Kitchen's full of decaying leaves. Bathroom is behind that rock. Watch out for the centipede downstairs. Total diva. The ecosystem is still figuring itself out, kind of like group projects where nobody knows who's in charge. There are no birds yet, no grass, no bees. Just you and a bunch of bugs with dreams. Some of you are herbivores, munching on soft shoots like picky toddlers. Others are scavengers, rolling poop into perfect balls like it's high art. And some of you are trying the whole predator thing. Respect. Slightly terrifying, but respect. Each patch of shade is a miniature drama. Leafcutter wars. Mating dances that look more like seizures. Millipedes running in circles like overcaffeinated Roombas. Life on land? It's messy. It's chaotic. It's beautiful. But here's the healing truth. Little buggy pioneer. You don't have to be a perfect part of the ecosystem. You are the ecosystem. Just by existing, you're building the blueprint for every forest that will ever grow after you. You're the original forest dweller. The tiny, clumsy, glorious glitch in the matrix that made trees, soil, and sky come alive with motion. So rest well, brave soil stomper. You've claimed a plot in history's weirdest real estate boom. Tomorrow you can invent ant hills, or tunnels, or just nap under a fern and call it innovation. The Devonian forest is your kingdom now. Long may you crawl. 3. The balance of the food chain. Salad struggles. Being a plant eater ain't peaceful. You are now a prehistoric herbivore with a passion for leaves and a fear of becoming lunch. Pissed, wake up, sleepyhead. It's feeding time. But bad news, you're the one doing the munching. Yep, you, my friend, are one of Earth's first official vegetarians. Not by choice, but by guts. No fangs, no claws. Just a hungry stomach and a suspicious-looking fern. You roam the early forests of the Devonian like a salad-seeking missile. Moss? Chomp. Primitive vascular plant? Delicious. Young horsetail trying its best to grow? Sorry, pal, survival of the hungriest. And yeah, you eat messy. No napkins. No forks. Just jaws and ambition. But don't get too comfortable, because somewhere behind that leafy bush, someone's watching you chew. Something larger, slimier, with way more teeth than you. Welcome to the Devonian lunch paradox. You eat plants, but you are the plant to someone else. So you graze nervously, like a squirrel on its third espresso shot. Every bite could be your last. You're literally living the phrase, eat or be eaten. And it's exhausting. But listen, leafy legend, don't let the anxiety ruin your meal. You're not just eating plants. You're starting an ecological movement. By feeding on plants, you help cycle nutrients, stimulate plant growth, and power up the entire food chain. You're not just a salad enthusiast. You're the foundation of the ecosystem. Healing thought to munch on. You don't need to be a fearsome predator to matter. You don't need speed, strength, or fangs. Sometimes the bravest thing is just showing up and chewing with purpose. So go ahead, take that bite. Chew softly. Look over your shoulder. You've got this. You're on the menu. So you think being a predator is cool? Okay, let's be real. You've got jaws. You've got speed. You've got that look. Part smug, part hungry, part I might chase you for fun. You're not here to make friends. You're here to make eye contact. And then lunge. Welcome to your new role in the Devonian drama. Top of the food chain. Big fish. Big teeth. Bigger appetite. You slink through the shallows like a biological missile. Those salad eaters? Running. Those smaller fish? Hiding. Those trilobites? Well, already regretting their life choices. But let's not sugarcoat it. Being a predator is exhausting. You've got to work for every single bite. You stalk, you wait, you pounce, and sometimes you miss, which is embarrassing when you're trying to look cool. Plus, evolution's still figuring you out. Your eyes? A bit too far apart. Your gills? Not ideal for sprinting. Your dinner? Keeps evolving legs and trying to crawl onto land. Rude. Still, you're important. No, not just because you're cool or lethal. It's deeper than that. You help keep everything in balance. You prevent one species from taking over. You make prey animals sharper, quicker, smarter. You are pressure. You are the test. You are nature's way of saying, try harder or else. Healing thought under the fangs. Being powerful doesn't mean being perfect. Even predators fall, fail, and go hungry sometimes. But your existence pushes the world to grow tougher, wiser, more beautiful. So yeah, you might not catch dinner today. You might accidentally chomp a rock. But don't worry, you're still the scary one in the room. Now sleep, you glorious mess of scales and instinct. Tomorrow's another hunt. The web we weave, how everyone, even the weird ones, matters. So, you thought being a plant eater meant peace and chill? Think again, leaf chewer. In this Devonian ecosystem, everyone's watching everyone. You're nibbling ferns. Something's nibbling you. And someone else is watching both of you, licking their proto-lips. Welcome to the food web where life is a complicated buffet, and you're both diner and dish. No one's solo here. You, the peaceful grazer, make sure plants don't overgrow and block the sunlight. Your poop? Fertilizer gold. Your movements? Stir the soil, help spores spread, create microhabitats. You're basically the unsung hero of the forest. A messy, munching gardener with a tail. Then come the predators. Not just because they're hungry, but because without them, things get chaotic. Without them, one group booms too fast. Resources run out. Populations crash. Cue extinction party. See? Even chaos needs a little structure. And then there's the weirdos. Scavengers, filter feeders, bottom dwellers who look like they got dressed in the dark. They clean up leftovers, recycle nutrients, keep diseases in check. They may not be cute, but trust me, they're essential. Healing nudge from the Devonian woods. In nature's party, there's no extra. Everyone has a role, even the awkward, shy, slimy, or slow. Even you, lying there thinking, I'm not doing much. You are. Existing in balance with others is a powerful act. No need to roar or sparkle. Just be part of the web. Even if all you do is breathe, burp, and occasionally fart spores, you matter. So snuggle into your muddy corner of the world. You're connected. You're enough. And tomorrow the web spins on. Part 5. The Late Devonian Extinction Event. 1. Causes of extinction. So, who messed with the weather? You're living your best Devonian life. Crystal clear oceans, cozy coral condos, plankton smoothies on tap, and an overall vibe of Hakuna Matata, but make it marine. Fish are flirting. Trilobites are thriving. You've even got a solid fan base of mosses cheering from the shore. And then bam, someone turns the climate dial to chaos mode. First, it gets weirdly chilly, then weirdly hot, then muggy, then dusty, then cold again. Like Earth's trying on outfits for a party it wasn't even invited to. You little fishy friend are not amused. You're swimming along, trying to mind your own evolutionary business, when the water suddenly feels different, heavy, confused, like it's been emotionally texting its ex all night and forgot to oxygenate. And that's the problem. Oxygen levels are tanking. You're basically trying to do cardio in a room that's slowly losing air. You open your gills, nothing. You wiggle toward the surface, still nothing. It's like the ocean is holding its breath in protest. But don't panic, yet, because right now, you're witnessing a classic planet mood swing. Earth has entered one of those phases. You know, like when your friend goes through a dramatic haircut and insists they're reinventing themselves? Yeah. Except instead of bangs, it's climate collapse. So curl up, dear survivor. Wrap your fins around a rock and let the current rock you gently. Because when the planet gets dramatic, it's the calm fish that endure. The great oxygen vanishing act. So, let's talk about oxygen. You remember oxygen, right? That invisible MVP of life? That sweet, sweet molecule that keeps your gills fluttering and your cells partying? Well, it ghosted. One day it was everywhere, dissolved in your ocean, swirling in gentle currents, fueling your every move. The next, gone, like it left for just one cigarette and never came back. This, dear aquatic hero, is what scientists today politely call anoxic events. We call it, oh, the ocean forgot to breathe. It's not your fault, okay? You didn't use too much. The real culprit? A mix of shady ocean circulation, climate wobbles, and probably some volcanic drama spewing too much CO2 like a teen oversharing online. The seas went stagnant. Warm water sat on top like spoiled soup, not mixing with cooler, oxygen-rich layers below. And guess who lives in the lower layers? You. Fish, trilobites, ammonites, the who's who of Devonian sea society, all suddenly gasping like they've sprinted a marathon in a sauna. Some tried to escape to the surface. Others, well, let's say they went on a permanent nap. Entire food chains buckled. Coral reefs stopped throwing their rainbow parties. The plankton got weird. The vibe? Ruined. And yet, somehow you're still here. Sure, your fins are tired. Your gills are doing overtime. But your DNA? Oh, it's taking notes. Storing wisdom. Quietly whispering, "Adapt, little buddy. We've been through worse." Healing truth. Even when life feels suffocating, like you're running out of air, options, or strength, sometimes the best thing you can do is pause. Float. Let your body rest while your spirit rewires. You're not failing. You're evolving. So hang in there. The oxygen might be gone, but your story isn't. When volcanoes played DJ and only played doom. Okay, let's set the scene. You're minding your own business, swimming your daily route, maybe flirting with a trilobite, maybe avoiding that suspicious eel. And then boom, not one volcano, not two, but a chain reaction of volcanic chaos across ancient continents. It's as if the planet's internal plumbing had a bad day and decided to rage quit. Massive eruptions started pumping carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere like the Earth forgot its emissions budget. The skies went hazy, the oceans got warmer, coral reefs wilted like sad houseplants, and the weather, less tropical beach and more acidic soup. Welcome to the greenhouse crisis, the part of Devon where Earth basically started a pressure cooker and forgot the timer. You'd think fish like you would get a break. But no, the extra CO2 didn't just mess with the air, it acidified the oceans. Imagine trying to grow scales and bones in a bowl of lemon juice. That's right, evolution's version of build character involved surviving both heatstroke and a chemistry experiment gone wrong. But here's the thing, you're still here, barely, bruised, confused, but here. Healing takeaway. Sometimes the environment changes so fast you don't get a say. And sometimes the only thing you can do is keep swimming, awkwardly, breathlessly, while the world melts around you. It's not weakness, it's resilience. Death by 1,000 cuts, aka mini extinctions, are still extinctions. You thought there was just one big dramatic extinction, didn't you? Nope. Devonian drama is a series. It wasn't one single asteroid slam or dinosaur obliterating blast. It was wave after wave of biological oopsies. A slow, spiraling dance of dying reefs, vanishing plankton, declining biodiversity, like Earth hitting snooze on life over and over. Some call them pulses. Cute, right? As if your ecosystem is just skipping a beat. Each pulse brought a little less oxygen, a little more heat, a few more lost species. And your once busy neighborhood? Ghost town. Fish schools? Disbanded. Coral condos? Crumbled. The weird shrimp creature who always photobombed you? Gone. It was like a series finale where all your favorite characters were written out, one by one. You didn't even get closure. Healing moment. Loss isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's a slow fade. A series of goodbyes you didn't realize were happening until it's too late. But you, tiny survivor, aquatic underdog, you held on. Not because it was easy, but because your instinct whispered, keep going. Aftermath, silence, and survival. When the chaos faded, there was no victory parade, no confetti made of plankton, no "you survived" the Devonian t-shirts, just quiet, a sobering kind of silence. The biodiversity was slashed. Coral reefs were shadows of their former selves. Placoderms, your armored cousins, were gone, just vanished as if nature said, "Thanks for playing." And you didn't evolve into something fancy yet. You just kept breathing, slowly, lightly, letting your gills feel the water shift, letting your body rest in the ruins of what once was. That stillness, that was your triumph, because from the ashes of extinction comes potential. Every quiet breath you took was a vote for the future. Final healing whisper. You don't have to come out of every storm stronger, shinier, or smarter. Sometimes it's enough to just come out. You're still here, and that means everything. 2. When life hits unsubscribe, creatures fall like autumn leaves. Farewell, armor boys. When the ocean tank is out of the meta. Hey, feeling lonely down here? That's because your crew, the placoderms, is packing up and PSNG out. You used to be the kings of the Devonian disco. Clunky, armored, terrifying, the medieval tanks of the sea. Fish saw you and swam the other way. You didn't chase. You just existed. And that was threatening enough. But now, your heavy-duty armor? Suddenly not so fashionable. Your bite? Still strong, but who's left to impress? Your enemies? Gone. Your food? Scarce. Your oxygen? Oh buddy, let's not talk about that. See, the ocean's pulling a major plot twist. Less oxygen, rising chaos, new fish with less bulk and more bounce. You're the boomer at a TikTok convention. Still legendary, but nobody's tagging you anymore. But don't be sad. You walked, swam, so others could run, swim faster. You showed the world that fish could wear armor and still be iconic. Healing truth to sleep on. Not everything beautiful survives forever. Sometimes your time is enough. Your legend, bulky, bold, slightly ridiculous, will echo in the currents. So rest now, dear armor boy. You were loud, proud, and 100% unstreamlined. And we loved you for it. The great biodiversity oops, when nature just ghosted everyone. So here you are, gliding through the Devonian Sea like usual, fins polished, gills breathing in that vintage salty air. It's just another day in the ocean neighborhood, and you're ready to strut your scaly stuff. But then, something's weird. The coral reefs? Strangely quiet. That goofy trilobite who always photobombs your selfies? Nowhere to be seen. And the flashy fish with no jaw, who used to sing in bubbles every morning, vanished. Poof. At first, you think maybe it's a holiday. Some underwater party you weren't invited to. But days pass, then weeks, and it hits you. This isn't a party. This is an extinction. Slowly, silently, the whole ecosystem is packing up without saying goodbye. No big explosion, no dinosaurs getting yeeted by meteors. Just a long, awkward fade-out like someone slowly turning the lights off on life. Turns out, nature's playlist glitched. Climate changed. Oxygen dipped. Sea levels mood swung like a soap opera character. And just like that, entire food chains went nope. One by one, species left the group chat, never to return. It's not you, well okay, maybe it's partially you, but mostly it's Earth being extra dramatic again. But here's the healing truth wrapped in fins and feels. Just because something ends, doesn't mean it failed. Your friends? They danced, swam, lived their weird little lives. And so did you. What you were part of, that chaotic, vibrant, coral-crashing madness, mattered. No one can take that away. So rest now, lonely little legend. The reef is quiet, but your story still echoes in every ripple. Tomorrow, we float forward. The after-party nobody wanted, when oceans got depressed. You wake up one morning, well, if fish had mornings, and the sea feels off. Like someone turned the volume down on life. The colors? Washed out. The water? Heavy. The vibes? Immaculately weird. You go looking for your coral barista, But the coffee reef is gone. Just rubble. Your favorite snack, that soft little worm that used to wriggle politely, is now missing in action. And those flashy fish who used to do synchronized swimming near the kelp bar? Gone. Replaced by silence and suspicious algae. You, my scaly pal, are now a survivor in a ghost town of the sea. And it's not poetic. It's just awkward. The food web is more like a food thread now. Thin, fragile, one wrong move away from collapsing like your neighbor's homemade reef sculpture. The ocean, once a buffet of biodiversity, has turned into a moody soup with fewer toppings. Everything's either extinct, starving, or stressed out. You're swimming in circles, wondering, was it something I said? But no, it's not personal. It's planetary. Because when oxygen dips and temperatures flirt with chaos, ecosystems don't whisper, they unravel. And you're stuck in the sequel of a party where everyone left, but someone forgot to turn off the lights. Still, here's the healing kicker. Surviving isn't just luck. The stubbornness in scales. You, awkward little swimmer, are proof that life finds ways. Even when it's messy, moody, and missing half the guest list. So keep paddling, you dramatic dino fish cousin. The ocean's weird, but you're still here. And sometimes, just being here is the bravest thing of all. Diversity hit the snooze button when evolution took a timeout. So, remember that wild Devon party? Coral raves, fishy fashion shows, algae playing background jazz? Well, someone hit the emergency stop button. You, dear survivor, are now floating through an ocean that feels like Monday morning. Bleak, quiet, everyone's on low battery. Evolution, once buzzing with fresh prototypes, has put the whole operation on airplane mode. Gone are the funky, armored oddballs, the flamboyant fins, the weirdo experiments. What's left? Simpler fish, basic plankton, the same 3 seaweed species arguing over sunlight like bitter roommates. It's not that evolution gave up, it just got tired. Too many extinctions in too little time. The genetic buffet is now a sad vending machine with 1 stale sandwich and a suspicious sea cucumber. You brave little anomaly are swimming in a world that's paused. No big innovations, no wild adaptations, just survival 101. Don't die. Repeat tomorrow. But hey, maybe that's the point. Maybe in the hush after the chaos, life is learning to breathe again, to tread water gently, to figure out what's next, not by rushing, but by resting. Healing moment. Even nature takes breaks. And that's not failure, that's wisdom. So if your world ever feels quiet, simple, or stripped down, remember, recovery is still progress. Sometimes the bravest act is just staying afloat. And you, sweet aquatic underdog, are doing just fine. Echoes of an empty reef, a love letter to what once was. The reefs? Silent. The predator parades? Over. It's like the ocean through the biggest, weirdest celebration in history. And now it's sweeping up the glitter with a tired sigh. You, a lone wanderer with too many memories and not enough company, drift past ruins that once pulsed with life. It hurts, doesn't it? To remember the swirl of fins, the clash of teeth, the dance of colors, and now see only shadows. But loss isn't the end of the story. It's a page, a chapter, a necessary breath before the next sentence begins. You're not here to rebuild everything overnight. You're here to remember, to carry what once was into what might be. Because even in the quiet, the ocean hums with possibility. New species will rise. Ecosystems will reknit. The pulse will return. And you, strange, stubborn, soft-shell dreamer, are part of that future. Final whisper before sleep. Not all beauty is meant to last forever, but all beauty leaves echoes. And those echoes, they shape tomorrow. So close your eyes, little survivor of deep time. The Devon may have faded, but you remain. A flicker of resilience in a world still healing. 3. Recovery after extinction. You, the comeback kid, aka a very bony fish. So, things got a little intense back there, huh? One moment, you're vibing in the coral lounge, dodging predators and minding your gill business. Next thing you know, boom, mass extinction, lights out, half your neighbors, gone. Even the grumpy armored cousins, discontinued like old phone models. The Devonian did not play around. But guess who's still here? You. Not flashy, not armored, but bony. And apparently, being made of bones is incredibly fashionable for surviving the end of the world. See, while the bulky placoderms were too busy flexing their jaws and dragging their heavy helmets around, you were out here low maintenance, agile, and built for the long game. Your skeleton? Internal. Lightweight. Chic. Easier to grow, easier to move. You're basically the Prius of prehistoric fish. And oh, your fins? Sleek, versatile, practically doing yoga underwater. You can twist, turn, hover, swerve, like a ballet dancer in flippers. This isn't just swimming. It's an aquatic art form. Meanwhile, extinction wiped out half the marine menu. But guess what? You're new. Smarter jaws say, we adapt. Crabs, worms, plankton smoothies, bring 'em all. You weren't the loudest, the biggest, or the flashiest, but you were smart, flexible, resilient, and in evolutionary terms, that's pure gold. Sleepy life lesson. When the world flips upside down, survival doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the one who can bend, change, wiggle through the cracks, and still smile with their weird little fish face. So tonight, little bony miracle, stretch out those fins, rest that skull, and know this, you didn't just survive, you upgraded. You're not just a fish, you're the future. And that's a pretty big deal, even if you're still shaped like a swimming question mark. You, a leafy legend, forest edition. You've respawned, but not as a fish this time. This life, you're a plant. Yep, a humble sprout, breaking through the dirt like, surprise losers, I'm back. It's been a minute since the Devonian apocalypse did its thing. Suffocating oceans, acid rain tantrums, the whole dramatic breakup with biodiversity. But you, dear chlorophyll-powered hero, you're not giving up. No, you photosynthesize through the pain. You're part of the comeback crew. The leafy warriors brave enough to reroot this tired planet. And you're not just any weed. You've got vascular tissues, baby. You're basically the early adopter of plant plumbing. Xylem and phloem, like nature's version of internal Wi-Fi and central air. You're small now, but your squad's growing. Ferns, club mosses, horsetails, the whole brunch gang. Together, you form something truly new, understory gossip circles. The forest is whispering again. And above, a few bold trees are trying the vertical life. Not skyscrapers yet, more like overly ambitious coat racks. But hey, it's a start. The soil beneath your roots is fresher, richer than ever. A mushy blend of ancient leaves, microbes, and pure comeback energy. And guess what? All that dead stuff? It's your power. You literally grow from the past. Healing whisper. Life doesn't just bounce back. Compost. It breaks down the mess and turns it into something new. Something leafy. So don't be ashamed of what fell apart. That decay? That's your fertilizer. Breathe in. Wiggle your leaves. Let the wind gossip through your stems. You're not just regrowing the world, you're rewriting the plotline. One awkward branch at a time. Rest now, tiny tree. Tomorrow we reach for the carboniferous skies. You, a bony badass with a comeback arc. Look at you, slick survivor. You're no longer the tank-like placoderm of ancient dreams. You're not some floppy prehistoric sidekick either. You're a bony fish now. Yep, the kind of fish that sets trends, not follows them. You've got a real skeleton, not just cartilage held together with hope and anxiety. Vertebrae, ribs, jaw bones, the full deluxe bone bundle. And your jaw? Oh honey, it works. You don't just open and close it like some Devonian puppet. You chomp, you snap, you style. The extinction event? Yeah, that wiped out your armored cousins. R.I.P. you lovable tanks. But not you. You, light and flexible, slipped through the cracks. Quite literally. Your bones were small enough to survive. Your vibe? Unbothered. Boneless adjacent. Uncancelled. And you swam into a quieter, emptier ocean. Like walking into an abandoned mall and thinking, okay, I can make this work. No predators breathing down your neck. No competition for snacks. Just you, your new finned freedom, and a buffet of opportunity. You start small, darting, dodging, gobbling plankton like they're popcorn on a lazy Sunday. But slowly, evolution takes your side. Your fins get fancier. Your tails get sassier. Your scales? Shiny. It's giving resilience with glitter. And the best part? You're no longer just surviving, you're designing the future. Every gene you pass on is a love letter to the next era. You're setting the stage for salmon, seahorses, even sharks' comeback tour. Healing spoiler. Sometimes it takes losing the armor to find your flow. Flexibility, not toughness, wins in the long game. So go ahead, little bony fish. Flap your tail like you own the ocean. You're not just cute. You're a prototype for greatness. And one day, one of your distant descendants will ask, who started all this? And the answer will be, you did. So swim slow tonight. Dream hard. Tomorrow, evolution calls again. Part 6. The Legacy of Devon. 1. Evolutionary significance. From floppy to fabulous, the rise of bony fish. Hey there, survivor. You've made it through the Devonian drama, extinction, oxygen dips, food chain meltdowns. You're not just alive, you're thriving. And you know what? You've got bones now. Real ones. Not the wobbly cartilage nonsense your cousins had. We're talking legit, solid, calcium-packed, structure-enhancing bones. You're no longer that jelly-spined undersea extra flopping around in the background. You're starring in your own biological glow-up story. You've become a bony fish, the sleek, efficient, streamlined miracle that future sushi dreams are made of. And let's talk about those bones. Light but sturdy, flexible but supportive. Evolution basically handed you a skeletal upgrade like, hey, we noticed you've been grinding. Here's something to make swimming a little less embarrassing. Suddenly, your fins aren't just limp noodles. They've got finesse. Your tail? Precision engineered for propulsion. You move like you mean it. You don't just survive currents, you dance through them. Meanwhile, your placoderm cousins, the heavy metal armored ones, gone. Most of them couldn't handle the shakeup. Their full-body cosplay suits were cute, but, well, not ideal for climate flexibility. But you're the future, because having bones isn't just about swimming prettier. It's about versatility. With your new frame, you'll someday crawl, leap, climb, heck, your great-great-great-grandkid might write poetry or do taxes. Healing moment. Sometimes the quiet upgrades matter most. You don't have to roar into the spotlight. You just have to adapt one small improvement at a time. So stretch those new fins, marvel at your bones, and float proudly. You're not just a fish anymore. You're a blueprint, a beginning, a ripple that'll become a tidal wave. Sleep easy, bone pioneer. The surface world has no idea what's coming. The launch pad to land, how you became the blueprint for amphibians. Hey, evolution MVP. You've got bones now, but don't get too cozy underwater. Because guess what? You've just become land curious. That's right. While other sea creatures are busy nibbling algae or chasing plankton like it's a sport, you're staring at the shoreline like, what if I tried something stupid, like breathing air? Your fins, remember those new and improved models? Yeah, they're thinking about legs. They haven't committed yet, they're still a bit floppy. But you can feel the ambition in your joints. They're low-key plotting an escape from the water like a teenager dreaming of moving out. And your lungs? Surprise, you've got stashed beside your gills like emergency snacks. You're still using both, because why not double dip? But something in you says, air might be my thing. Congratulations. You're not just a fish anymore. You're a proto-amphibian prototype. The clumsy, soggy great-grandparent of every frog, salamander, and hiking lizard to come. But let's be honest, land isn't ready for you. And frankly, you're not ready for land. Your limbs are like coat hangers pretending to be legs. You slide more than you step. And when you try to breathe air, we city. Still, you're trying. And that's what makes you legendary. Healing truth of the day. You don't have to be graceful when you're going first. You just have to be bold enough to go. Evolution doesn't need you to look good. It needs you to show up. So take your slippery little steps. Breathe a little air. Ponder a puddle. You're not just a fish with bones. You're the start of a revolution in slow motion. Rest now, brave crawler in progress. Tomorrow we wobble a little farther. Forests? Yeah, you helped start that. Hey, forest godparent, you didn't think your little aquatic detour would change the entire planet, did you? But it did. Because while you were busy flopping around with your proto-legs and trying to remember how to breathe, plants were watching. Yep, those leafy stalks on the riverbank, taking notes, inspired. They said, if Fish McFumbles can get up here, maybe we can do more than sit in the mud too. Next thing you know, boom, roots digging deep, leaves reaching high, and baby forests popping up like an herbal uprising. And here's the kicker, your poop helped. Yeah. Nutrients from your leftovers, the unglamorous but powerful fertilizer of champions, made the soil richer. More plants, more oxygen. Basically, you were the messy but magical start of a green revolution. No need to be modest. Every oak, fern, and forest spirit owes you a thank you note and maybe a little crown made of moss. Healing reminder. Even the small, weird, half-formed steps you take today might plant seeds for something enormous tomorrow. You don't have to know the full plan, you just have to exist, grow a little, and be your deliciously awkward self. Now breathe in, smell that? That's tree air. You helped make that. Take a bow, trailblazer. You're not the end, you're the blueprint. You thought your job was done after helping invent limbs and inspire forests? Oh honey, you're just getting started. Because while your fossilized remains are chilling in some fancy museum now, back then, you were the original test version, a walking, wheezing, wiggling beta release of life on land. And what happened next? Some of your great-great dash times a million grandkids took your awkward limbs and made them muscular. They ditched the fishy tail, souped up the lungs, And before you knew it, frogs were jumping, salamanders were squiggling, and reptiles were plotting world domination. You were the quirky ancestor who made all their glow-ups possible. And let's be real, those who came after probably talked about you like, yeah, great-great-grandfish was weird, but without them, we'd still be blowing bubbles. Motivational moment, you don't have to be the polished final product. You can be the first messy try that still counts. The draft that changed everything. Legacy doesn't come from perfection. It comes from showing up when the world still has no idea what it's becoming. So sleep tight, you ancient masterpiece. You walked so the rest could leap. Tomorrow's forest, still growing from your ripple. 2. Devonian fossils. Coral time capsules, fossils with a flair for drama. So, sleepy explorer, welcome to the Devonian Reef Club. No, not the modern kind with scuba tanks and sunscreen. We're diving back 400 million years, where coral wasn't just decoration. It ran the show. These underwater architects didn't need blueprints. They built vast reef empires that would have made even modern cities jealous. You, dear time-traveling snorkeler, are now floating above a fossilized palace, a Devonian coral reef, turned to stone but still gossiping about the good old days. Now here's the twist. These coral fossils aren't just pretty rocks. They're time capsules, like ancient social media posts trapped in limestone. Except instead of just had sushi, they're saying things like water temperature, 27 degrees Celsius, oxygen levels, meh, biodiversity, absolutely popping. Seriously, scientists today can look at a slab of reef fossil and decode the temperature, salinity, oxygen levels, and even how chaotic the neighborhood was. It's like CSI, Devonian edition. But let's not pretend everything was peaceful. These reefs saw drama. Fights between predator fish, seaquakes, rising CO2 levels, and eventually, extinction events that turned vibrant coral cities into ghost towns in stone. That's right, the very reefs that once bloomed with bizarre sea lilies, trilobite groupies, and armored fish raves, now lie still, telling tales in silence. Sleepy healing thought. Even in stillness, there's memory. Even when beauty fades, it leaves behind stories. And sometimes, the most silent things, like coral turned to stone, carry the loudest truths about life, change, and resilience. So drift gently, little reef wanderer. You're not just resting by a rock. You're cuddled up next to 400 million years of memories. And they're still whispering, if you're quiet enough to hear them. Ready for the next fossil mystery? Amphibian autographs, when your footprints get famous. Okay, sleepy time traveler, hold your breath, or don't. You've got lungs now. Because this chapter isn't about flashy bones or armored jaws. No. It's about muddy footprints. Yup. Welcome to the humble, squishy glory of trace fossils. Not skeletons, not shells. Just signs that someone somewhere said, I walked here, I slipped there, and I definitely panicked here. We're talking amphibian tracks. Tiny dents pressed into prehistoric mud, now fossilized and famous. Some are just stumbles. Others are full-on runway struts, complete with toe wiggles. And they're precious not because they're perfect, but because they're proof. Proof that one bold, awkward ancestor got tired of floating and decided to go for a walk. Now imagine this. You're a little ichthyostega, belly still half fish, legs still confused. You take a few wobbly steps on muddy Devonian soil, and boom, 365 million years later, some human in khakis is squealing over your footprint like it's the Mona Lisa. Congratulations, you're a paleo-celebrity. Without even trying. These tracks tell scientists where you went, how fast you moved, whether you tripped, you definitely tripped, what kind of mud you liked. Very specific taste, by the way. Sleepy healing wisdom. You don't need to be perfect to leave a legacy. Even your stumbles leave marks. Even a messy journey becomes history if you dare to take that first slippery step. So stretch out those ancient toes, little pioneer. Your footprints mattered. They still do. And if today you feel like all you've done is wander in circles, just know that's exactly how paths begin. Earth's diary in stone when rocks spill the tea. So, sleepy explorer, you've met the coral fossils, the bedazzled leftovers of ancient ocean parties. You've followed amphibian footprints like breadcrumbs across prehistoric mud. But now, it's time for the juicy gossip of the Earth itself. That's right, fossils aren't just old bones. They're entries in the planet's diary, scribbled in limestone and whispered through sediment. You see, the Devonian period wasn't just about fish fashion shows and swampy drama. It was also when Earth started documenting everything. Every ripple in the sand, saved. Every volcano burp, logged. Every drop in sea level, shift in oxygen, weird algae bloom, or coral comeback. Earth wrote it down in layers of rock. Geologists today, they're basically therapists for the planet. They read these rocky journals and say things like, "Aha! This black shale means an ocean went anoxic. Poor thing was probably suffocating." Or, this limestone layer says coral reefs were thriving here, then suddenly stopped. Break up. Thanks to Devonian fossils, we now understand ancient climate changes, mass extinctions before mass extinctions were trendy, when land plants began throwing shade literally and changing the carbon game, and how oceans turned from chaos into ecosystems with actual rules. But don't worry, you don't need a geology degree to appreciate it. Just remember, the Earth remembers. Even when no one else was looking, it was recording everything. Quietly, layer by layer, healing reflection to sleep on. Maybe you don't always notice your own growth. Maybe your milestones feel buried or small. But time has a way of turning quiet moments into solid stone. One day, someone will look back and say, "Here, this is where they changed." So close your eyes, little time traveler. Let the Devonian rock you to sleep. You're part of the story now, and Earth never forgets. Fossil fame and misunderstandings. When you're dead, but popular. Okay, real talk. You lived your best fishy, ferny, or four-legged life in the Devonian. You flopped, photosynthesized, maybe flailed dramatically through a swamp. And then you died. Cut to millions of years later, and boom, you're famous. Not influencer famous, fossil famous. You're in museums. You're featured in peer-reviewed journals. Paleontologists name you things like Ichthyostega or Asteroxylon, because Bob the plant wasn't Latin enough. But here's the twist. Being a fossil celebrity isn't always glamorous. Sometimes they get your story wrong. They say you walked when you actually waddled. They say you lived in rivers when it was totally brackish swamp vibes. One day you're evidence of evolutionary breakthrough. The next day, actually, we think it was a random fluke. It's like historical gossip, but with rocks. And still, there's beauty in it. Because even with the confusion, even when science edits your bio every few decades, you mattered. Your bones taught someone something. Your fern imprint sparked a theory. Your little jaw structure made a researcher do a happy dance. Fossils don't talk, but they whisper. and every whisper adds to the bigger story. How life tried, failed, tried again, and occasionally face-planted its way into greatness. Healing reflection for the end of the chapter. You don't have to be perfect to be remembered. Even your awkward, unfinished, mud-covered moments can leave a mark on the world. So if today you feel a little fossilish, buried, forgotten, misunderstood, just wait. Someday, someone will dig up your story and say, "Wow, they were part of something huge." Sleep well, Devonian dreamer. You're still echoing through time. Geological love letters. You've been rock solid all along. You know what fossils really are? Love letters. Yeah, not the mushy kind with roses and perfume. More like Earth's version of, "Hey, I kept a piece of you forever." Because let's face it, you weren't trying to be famous. You were just chilling, eating algae, escaping predators, growing awkward limbs, or blooming quietly in the mud. You didn't ask for a museum spotlight. You didn't even know what a spotlight was. And yet, here we are. Your shell impression in limestone? Adored. Your fern pattern in shale? Tattooed into time. Your ancient jaw fossil? Still giving evolutionary biologists goosebumps. Turns out, the Devonian didn't just give us creatures and chaos. It gave us evidence that we were here, that something moved, struggled, adapted, and existed in a very specific way, in a very specific place, for reasons it never fully understood. And that was enough, because that's all any of us are doing, right? Wriggling our way through weird environments, changing shape when life demands it, leaving tiny impressions we may never see, but someone else might. Every fossil is Earth saying, "I saw you. I saved this moment." Healing note to fossil souls, yes, that's you now. Even if you feel like no one noticed you during your lifetime, your impact might be quietly waiting to surface centuries later. Not all legacies are loud. Some are rock solid. Literally. So next time you feel like your awkwardness or uncertainty is pointless, remember, you might just be laying down the groundwork for some future kid to gasp in awe and say, "Whoa, this weird little thing changed everything." Sleep now, fossil to be. Your story's still unfolding, one layer of rock at a time. 3. The beginning of the Carboniferous period. The comeback crew when nature hit restart and you pressed play. So, you survived. Yep, the Devonian extinction tried to wipe the floor with everything. Oxygen dipped, climate threw a tantrum, and most of your neighbors, well, let's just say they left the group chat permanently. But not you. You, my squishy little survivor, toughed it out. Maybe you weren't the flashiest fish in the sea. Maybe you were just the one who knew how to stay quiet, keep your gills low, and ride out the apocalypse like a pro. And now, the silence is breaking. In the oceans, once ghost towns of floating algae and awkward crustaceans, new life starts bubbling again. Bony fish, your cousins with slightly fancier skeletons, are back in business. Coral reefs, those architectural geniuses of the sea, slowly stack their skeletons again, turning barren seafloors into condos of biodiversity. Even the trilobites, bless them, try to crawl back into relevance. Spoiler, it won't last long. But shoo, don't ruin it for them. This isn't just a recovery, it's a glow-up. Ecosystems reboot with upgraded food chains. No more chaotic free-for-alls. Now it's about efficiency. New predators, smarter grazers, cleaner nutrient cycles. The sea is learning how to breathe again, literally and figuratively. And the best part? You're here to witness it. You don't have to do anything fancy. Just float, exist. Let your cells whisper ancient wisdom into the water. Every breath you take now is part of Earth's great inhale after a long, rough cough. Healing truth to sink into. Sometimes the world needs to break down to build up better. Sometimes survival isn't glamorous. It's quiet, boring, and low-key genius. So sleep now, survivor. You've earned your place in this second act. Tomorrow we explore the forest swamps. But tonight, you float in the glow of recovery. No fanfare needed. Swampy real estate, welcome to the Carboniferous Starter Pack. Congratulations, former seed dweller. You've just entered the Carboniferous period, aka Earth's first green makeover. Look around. What was once a barren stretch of soggy mud is now prime swamp real estate. Towering lycophytes, ferns the size of phone towers, and seed ferns stretch skyward like they've just discovered Instagram and need to show off. It's leafy, it's lush, it's loud with photosynthesis. And you're floating past the roots of the first forests like a property developer scouting new turf. Here's what's hot in this jungle-themed housing boom. Trees with attitude, the first real land plants with vascular tissues, meaning they've got internal plumbing. Sap highways, xylem and phloem drama. They're no longer just mosses lying around like leafy carpets. These bad boys stand up straight and demand sunlight like the world owes them something. A swamp vibes only. The land is squishy, boggy, and oh so moist. It's a perfect stew for dead plants to sink into, which will one day become coal. But for now, it smells like progress. A little funky, but progress. A root revolution. With deeper roots than ever before, plants start holding soil together like emotional support systems. Less erosion, more structure. Finally, land that doesn't just fall apart in the rain. We love to see it. And while you, dear pioneer, might not care much for sunlight or tree gossip, the air is changing because of them. Oxygen is rising, the world is greening, and every breath you take is a little less like a struggle session. Healing bedtime reflection. Just like a forest starts with one root, change begins small. Growth doesn't shout. It unfolds, leaf by leaf, root by root, until one day, the whole landscape is transformed. So curl up in your little pocket of swampy silence. Let the canopy whisper dreams into your ancient brain. Tomorrow's a whole new biome. The carbon cycle reboot, nature's longest laundry routine. Now, about all this plant growth, it's not just for decoration. Plants are pulling carbon dioxide from the air like vacuum cleaners with a grudge. They suck it in, trap it in their bodies, and when they die, instead of rotting fully, they get buried under layers of mud in oxygen-poor swamps. Boom! Carbon locked away. Climate cooled. Over millions of years, this cycle runs on repeat like the longest, most patient laundry machine ever built. Dead plants, burial pressure coal. And this process, it'll reshape Earth's future. You're witnessing the moment Earth goes full Marie Kondo on its atmosphere. Does this excess carbon spark joy? Nope. Into the swamp it goes. And without meaning to, these prehistoric trees, bless their leafy little hearts, are setting the stage for the Ice Age. Yes, the Carboniferous name doesn't just sound sciencey. It's because of all the carbon getting locked underground. As for you, you're just vibing, swimming beneath fern fronds, watching nature go full accountant on atmospheric chemistry. You don't know it, but the balance being set now will shape millions of years of weather, evolution, and cozy bedtime stories. Healing reflection to drift off with. Big changes often come from quiet processes. No thunder, no spotlight, just roots growing, leaves falling, time passing, and a world being reshaped in the background. Rest easy, little time traveler. History's getting greener, and so are your dreams. A soft, splashy recap of the Devonian. You were there for it all. Let's relive the madness gently. Hey, sleepy superstar. Before we tuck you into the next mind-blowing chapter of your ancient life, let's take a warm, giggly bubble bath through memory lane. Yep, it's recap time, but not the boring kind. This one's soft, splashy, and just slightly ridiculous. Just like you were flopping around in prehistoric armor. Remember how this all began? You were a literal tank. A placoderm with a face like a grumpy teapot and a bite that could snap through steel. Well, soft trilobite shells, but who's counting? You strutted, or more accurately, glided awkwardly through Devonian waters, feeling invincible in your metal outfit. Heavy? Sure. Fashionable? Absolutely not. But effective? You bet. Then came the rise of Bone Bros, the bony fishes. Sleeker, sassier, and with moves like a synchronized swimming team on energy drinks. These early Osteichthyans were not here to play nice. They had real skeletons, not just some armor plates, and they were ready to outswim you and out-evolve you. And you, bless your heavy, clunky soul, tried your best to keep up before slowly fading out of the spotlight like a reality show contestant voted off in week 4. Meanwhile, the ocean was throwing a literal party. Coral reefs exploded in every direction like nature's Pinterest board. So many shapes, colors, and weird squishy creatures that didn't have a single bone in their bodies. It was chaotic, beautiful, and full of drama. Exactly how Earth likes it. Then, of course, came your rebellious phase. You started eyeing the land. You thought, that dusty patch over there. What if I put my fins on it? Cue the great evolutionary leap. Fins started mutating into proto-legs. Lungs joined the party like uninvited guests at a karaoke night. Suddenly, you weren't just a fish. You were a fish with ambition, a fish with options. You flopped, you gasped, you fell, but you got back up. And by up, I mean kind of leaned awkwardly on some mud and wished for a beach towel. And then there were the legends, Chictalic, Ichthyostiga, Acanthostiga, evolutionary icons. The ones who turned every tumble into a revolution. One small splash for fish kind, one giant leap for every frog and lizard to come. But let's not forget the land. While you were struggling to get your slimy butt on shore, plants were having their own botanical boom. Mosses gave way to vascular plants. Trees started showing up like leafy skyscrapers. Forests stretched their roots, literally. And suddenly, Earth had shade. And the bugs? Oh yes, the bugs came too. Insects were popping up left and right like overexcited fanboys of the new oxygen-rich air. Some even got wings and said, "Screw crawling, we're flying now." Typical insects, always extra. Of course, it wasn't all fairy ferns and rainbow fish. The Devonian wasn't afraid to throw tantrums. Climate shifts, oxygen drops, mysterious extinctions like mid-season plot twists. Whole species blinked out like forgotten cast members. Your armored cousins didn't make it. The reefs took a nap, a long one, and the sea went strangely quiet. But guess who survived? You did. You, the slightly confused, wobbly-legged, air-gasping pioneer. You weren't the fastest, the flashiest, or the most fashionable. But you had one thing that mattered most. You showed up. You kept evolving, kept crawling, kept trying. And that, dear prehistoric soul, is what made the Devonian special. It wasn't about who had the sharpest teeth or the shiniest fins. It was about courage, about trying the impossible, like walking on land when your body still smelled like seaweed. So now, as we close this dreamy chapter, give yourself a sleepy little high five. You were part of the chaos, the color, the transformation. You were there wide-eyed, clumsy, and determined. And what's next? Oh ho ho! The Carboniferous is calling, with trees that touch the sky, insects the size of seagulls, swamps that whisper secrets, and strange, sneaky creatures learning what it means to be a reptile. But that's a bedtime tale for another night. For now, roll over on your mossy pillow, let the Devonian waters ripple away into dreamland, and drift off, knowing you helped shape a planet. Sleep well, little evolutionary hero. You've earned your rest. Tomorrow we grow wings. So, let's take one last stroll through the ancient Devonian seas together. Just you and me. No pressure, no exams, no sudden extinction events. Hopefully. You remember the armored fish, don't you? The underwater tanks with zero reverse gear and social anxiety in both eyes. Yeah, those placoderms were something else. No manners, no breaks, but wow, they really set the tone. You know that one relative who shows up at family reunions in full cosplay, loudly chewing with their mouth open? That was the placoderm vibe. Loud, awkward, unforgettable. And what about the early bony fish? Finally, someone with bones and a sense of direction. They strutted around, well, swam around like, look, I've got a spine. I'm literally going places. These were the ancestors of modern fish, future landwalkers, and weekend pool loungers. Strong fins, big dreams, all that jazz. Then came the weird kids, the ones who peeked at the land and went, maybe? Amphibians in training, wriggling onto the shore like toddlers trying yoga. Did they look graceful? No. Did they know what they were doing? Also no. But they had heart, and lungs, and at least 4 limbs, give or take a few flops. And that's the quiet magic of the Devonian. It wasn't a time of perfection, it was a time of firsts. The first jaws, first legs, first clumsy crawl onto a muddy riverbank. Nature wasn't painting masterpieces yet. It was sketching possibilities. And sometimes the rough drafts are the most charming. You could say Devon was the Earth's awkward puberty. Growth spurts, mood swings, dramatic climate changes. Some species got really popular. Others faded out after one awkward season. But behind all the chaos, evolution was hard at work. Sculpting futures, setting stage lights, whispering, just try it and see what happens. Even the forests started rooting for life, literally. Early trees stuck their toes in the soil, held hands underground, and built the first shady spots for life to breathe. Honestly, they were the quiet MVPs. No drama, just vibes. And then, just when things were getting good, bam. Extinction. The lights flickered. Oxygen dipped. Some creatures couldn't hold on. Our beloved armored fish said their final clunky goodbyes. Coral reefs took a hit. Diversity dipped. The ecosystem needed a nap, just like we do sometimes when life feels like too much. But here's what the Devonian teaches us. Dear sleepy explorer, even after loss, life rewrites itself. It may look different. It may feel unfamiliar, but it keeps flowing, adjusting, breathing, growing. You're not unlike those early fish. Maybe you're figuring things out, still flopping on the shore, unsure where to go next. Maybe you're carrying the weight of your own ancient armor, thick, outdated, but hard to let go of. Maybe you've outgrown a sea that once felt like home. That's okay, because this world is full of next chapters, of carboniferous forests waiting to bloom, of new lungs learning to breathe, of quiet strength unfolding in awkward, beautiful ways. So tonight, rest like a fossil in gentle silt. Sink softly into the sediments of your pillow. Let the tides of ancient oceans soothe your racing thoughts. You are evolution in motion. You are proof that trying matters more than getting it right the first time. You are the legacy of brave little fish who dared to look at land and whisper, maybe. And if you're still flopping, darling, that just means you're evolving. Good night, tiny Devonian time traveler. Tomorrow we enter the Carboniferous, and trust me, it's going to be lush. The legacy we keep. So here you are. The Devonian is winding down. You've made it through millions of years of jaw-dropping changes. Literally, your jaw was a big deal. You've witnessed forests stand up for the first time, fish get fancy with bones, and awkward amphibians take their clumsy steps onto land like toddlers and flippers. But now, dear sleepy traveler, let's pause, breathe, float, reflect, because what you've lived through, it wasn't just survival, it was a legacy, and you delightful, confused, occasionally blubbery life form were part of it. You brought bones to the party. Remember the early days? When you were basically a mushy sack with fins. And now look at you, sporting a spine, real bones, flexible joints. Devon gave you skeleton swagger. Your bones became blueprints. Every step a future tetrapod takes, every flex, every stretch, every dramatic cartwheel in gym class, traces back to you, clunky but brave. You may not have had Instagram to show off your bone gains, but fossil records? Oh, they're keeping receipts. You watched forests take root. While you were busy being a fish with dreams, something magical happened above sea level. Tiny green plants? They leveled up, grew tall, formed the first real forests. Trees with roots that held the soil like hands holding Earth's heart. Leaves that inhaled carbon and exhaled possibility. The land, once just mud and moss, became alive. And these forests, they didn't just look good. They cooled the planet, filtered the air, and laid the foundation for future life. Like a grandma quietly running the world from the kitchen. And while you didn't walk through them, yet, your distant great-great-grand lunged grandkids will picnic there someday. All thanks to you. You took risks so others could run. Let's be honest. Crawling out of the water wasn't glamorous. You flopped. You gasped. You probably stepped on your own tail. But what mattered was that you dared. You looked at dry land, that vast, uncomfortable gravity having place, and thought, why not? You didn't have to be fast. You didn't have to be good. You just had to be first. And evolution, it adores pioneers. You're the reason future animals get to climb trees, chase snacks, and do dramatic slow-motion runs in nature documentaries. You taught the planet about balance. Oh, the drama of the Devonian food web, coral palaces, giant armored fish, tiny nibblers. Everyone had a role. And for the first time, the world saw a complex ecosystem hum with harmony. It wasn't just eat or be eaten anymore. It was, hey, if I munch this algae, I support the bug who feeds the fish who feeds the me. You didn't just live in a system. You were the system. Every wiggle of your fin affected someone. That's community. That's ecology. That's teamwork, baby. You witnessed loss and kept swimming. Not gonna sugarcoat it. The end of the Devonian? Kinda brutal. Oxygen dipped. Temperatures wobbled. Whole species blinked out. Even your armored fish cousins, the placoderms, waved their final goodbye. But you adapted. You adjusted. Maybe you lost your favorite coral couch or your go-to plankton hangout, but you kept moving, kept trying. kept evolving, and that, dear soul, is one of Earth's oldest lessons. Loss is part of life, but so is resilience. Your legacy echoes in every breath. Right now, in this moment, billions of years later, someone is stretching, breathing deep, and chasing dreams on land, in air, underwater, and in their cells, in their bones, in their blood. Your ancient courage, your awkward fins-turned legs, your determination to explore just a bit farther than what was comfortable, were all echoes of your experiment. And now, rest, little legend. You've come a long way, from jawless blob to elegant, squishy innovator. You paved paths no one had walked. You tried, failed, tried again. You became the bridge from water to world. And for that, we thank you. So now, close those eyes, or eyelid equivalents. Let the Devonian sun set over still waters. Let the ferns rustle in the wind like lullabies. Let your ancient heart sigh in peace. Because tomorrow, a whole new chapter begins. One with giant bugs, swampy jungles, and reptilian rebels. But tonight you sleep, wrapped in the whispers of forests you never climbed, warmed by the oceans that raised you, and honored by a future that remembers. Sleep well, brave ancestor. You did more than survive. You changed everything. Welcome to the Carboniferous. So, you've survived the Devonian. You, with your stumpy proto-legs, your half-formed lungs, and your inner monologue that probably sounds like, wait, am I a fish? A lizard? A weird water sausage with dreams? No need to panic. You're right on time, because now you're entering the Carboniferous period. Roughly 359 to 299 million years ago, aka the jungle chapter, the oxygen overdose, the bug-pocalypse. Pull up your leafy blanket, sleepy time traveler. You've got a lot to breathe in. The forests have gone full maximalist. The land you once flopped awkwardly across has become a jungle gym on hard mode. Gone are the simple ferns and squishy moss carpets of your Devonian days. Now, welcome to the lush explosion of Earth's first real forests. Towering lycophytes, giant horsetails, and ferns thicker than a fitness influencer's protein shake. Tree trunks are everywhere. Roots dive deep, and everything is moist. So moist, it's hot, it's humid. It's like someone turned the planet into a greenhouse and said, let's see what happens. Spoiler, what happened was awesome and terrifying. You're no longer tripping through puddles. You're hiking through skyscrapers made of bark and damp ambition. And you're still that brave little evolutionary experiment, staring up at 30-meter-tall plants like, wasn't I just struggling to stand? Yes, you were, and you still kind of are. But now you've got a background worthy of an epic. The insects are too much. You remember when bugs were cute? Little trilobite cousins crawling around, minding their own business? Well, forget that, because in the Carboniferous, insects went wild. And by wild, we mean gigantic. There's Meganura, a dragonfly with a 70 centimeters wingspan. It flaps by like a feathered drone on a power trip. You duck instinctively. It's like being buzzed by a glider with commitment issues. Then there's Arthropleura, a centipede the length of a sofa. A moving sofa, with too many legs. Zero chill. Imagine sharing your picnic spot with that thing. No thanks. Why are they so big? Oxygen levels, baby. With atmospheric oxygen soaring to 35%, insects who breathe through spiracles, basically little body holes, could afford to go full kaiju mode. So now, while you're trying to figure out your knees, A bug zips past like, "Excuse me, peasant. I fly now." It's unfair. It's hilarious. It's the Carboniferous. Enter reptiles with confidence. As you flail gloriously among the ferns, a new group is stepping onto the stage. The first reptiles. And unlike you, still damp, confused, and emotionally tethered to puddles. These guys are thriving. They've got scaly skin that doesn't dry out. They lay amniotic eggs, basically portable life pods. They say, "I don't need water to make babies." And suddenly they own the suburbs. Reptiles are evolution's golden children now. Dry, smug, and totally land-proud. You try to wave, maybe whisper, "Hey, we're cousins," but they're too busy posing on rocks, adjusting their tail angles for maximum photogenic reptilian aesthetic. But it's okay. They may have the spotlight now, but you made the first awkward leap. You, sweet floppy icon, are the blueprint. When trees die, they don't just die. They become legacy fuel. Here's where things get poetic. All these colossal trees and mossy skyscrapers, they fall, they rot, they pile up. Over millions of years, they get buried, compressed, transformed into coal. That's right, all that organic matter becomes the fuel of future civilizations. The reason for steam engines, factories, and questionable 19th century fashion. This is why we call it the Carboniferous, from carbon. Because the carbon stored in these lush forests is massive. But here's the twist. Too many plants pulling CO2 out of the atmosphere caused a dramatic global cooling. Ice ages rolled in, glaciers formed, sea levels dropped. Earth said, "Okay, too many trees, let's chill." Literally. So even nature needs to pace itself. A healing whisper from ancient ferns. And now, deep breath. Inhale that sweet carboniferous air. You've come a long way. From a squiggly Devonian fish to a gangly landwiggler in a fern rave. You've watched bugs grow enormous, reptiles get cool, and forests try to air condition the planet. And through it all, you keep going. That, dear sleeper, is evolution, not perfection, not power, but persistence, patience, curiosity. You're not the biggest or the fastest or the most fashionable. Those dragonflies are killing it. But you're here. You showed up. You took your first shaky breath, and then another. You didn't know what your legs were doing, but you kept moving, and that's everything. So curl up now, dear sleepy soul. You've wandered far tonight, from the hush of ancient oceans to the soft breath of the carboniferous forest. You've traveled time with open eyes and an open heart. You've walked among giant trees that never knew your name, but somehow always knew you were coming. You've listened to dragonflies the size of ravens hum lullabies in the twilight. You've rested your gaze on ferns taller than houses and seen the world before mammals, before birds, before even flowers. And now it's time to rest. Let the forest cradle you. Let the velvet hush of ancient leaves wrap around you like a quilt stitched from moss and memory. Hear how the cicadas quiet their songs just for you. Feel the soft earth beneath you, warm, steady, grounding. A gentle reminder that you belong here, not just in this moment, but across all the ages you've walked with us. This story may be over for tonight, but it will never really end. Because every time you close your eyes, the carboniferous breathes again. It lives within you now, in your quiet courage, in your curious heart, in your willingness to wonder. You've been more than a listener. You've been a traveler, a time dreamer, a little hero, clumsy and kind and completely legendary. And here, beneath skyscraper trees older than mountains, you are home. No expectations, No rush, just you and the night and the stories still glowing softly in your chest. So take a slow breath now, in and out. Feel the stillness settle in. The world quiets for you, dear one. The forest tucks you in gently, vines drawing soft shapes above your head, spores drifting like snow, fireflies blinking like ancient stars. And as your thoughts begin to float, light as dragonfly wings, we want to say, thank you. Thank you for spending your evening with us, for trusting us to carry you across time, for being part of this journey, for showing up with wonder and warmth in your heart. This is Sleepy History, a quiet corner of the world where bedtime becomes a bridge across epochs, where science becomes story and story becomes a lullaby. And we'll be here again tomorrow night, waiting for you, with new forests to explore, new ancient friends to meet, new echoes of Earth to share. But for now, close your eyes. Let it all go. You've seen enough for one night. You've felt deeply. You've dreamed bravely. Sleep well, carboniferous soul. Sleep deep. Sleep kind. Sleep curious. And when the moon rises again,